was laughing at him earlier. I was like, do you remember my oldest Dom's first Halloween? I'm like, I came to your house, for trick or treat. And so Rob, obviously I know where he lives, right? So he comes to the door and he's wearing the exact same clothes he wore to work, right? With a knitted Santa Claus mask, right on his face. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, trick or treat, whatever. My Dom's like 1. So it puts it in. So I was talking to him. I said, so he's got the mask on. I was like, oh my God, did you get a lot of trick or treaters or anything? And he's not really saying anything. And I was like, all right. And he kind of looks at me. He's like, how did you know it was me? And I was like, well, I know where you live, and you're in the same exact clothes I saw you in 2 hours ago.
And you're 6'8"
you're
in
6
Foxborough.
in Foxborough,
260 pounds, Jack Santa Claus.
It was the best, man. I love
How did you know it was me?
Welcome to Games with Names. They're Jack and Kyler. I'm Julian Edelman, and we are on a mission to find the greatest game of all time. And on today's episode, we are covering a special game, the 2011 AFC Championship between the Ravens and Patriots, with 3-time Super Bowl champion, former defensive and offensive coordinator, and actual rocket scientist, Patricia, Matty P. And we get into talking about everything. The time he almost killed Gronk.
He takes off and starts to run, and I take the garbage can and I throw it behind me. And all I hear is boom, boom, and I turn around and he's on the ground and he's laying there and he's not moving. This is Friday before game.
We get into the time he got Belichick's trust, Matt's side of the Malcolm Butler interception, the call for Hightower strip sack in 28-3, the rival between the Ravens, and what it's like at Patriots coaching meetings, and when Matty P knew we were going to win. We get into everything, okay? And we wrap up the show by bringing you the Chill Zone, presented by Coors Light. How cool is it to have Coors Light as a sponsor? We're in the big leagues now. We're in the big leagues, boys. So buckle it up. This is a long one. Let's go. Games with Names is a production of iHeartRadio. January 22nd, 2012, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Baltimore lines up the game-tying chip shot with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line.
Looks like we're heading into overtime. He missed it. Wide left. Wide left. This is the 2011 AFC Championship game. Welcome to Games with Names, and today we have a freaking really special episode. We get to go in the nitty-gritty of the 2011 AFC Championship between the Ravens and the Patriots with one of the guys that had to orchestrate a defense this year with guys off the street, putting receivers there in the slot, one and only, Matthew Patricia. Welcome to Games with Names, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you having me. It's great to be here.
We're so excited to have you because we've had all these Patriot coaches on, but it's been all offense. And we know what really wins the game. Defense wins championships. Offense just sells tickets. But in one sentence, why did you pick this game?
I was waiting since 2004 when I got to New England. I think one of the coolest things that I saw that year was Troy Brown played defense. And I was like, I cannot wait to do that again. And so we waited. And then eventually you came. And when you showed up, I was like, that's the guy. That's the guy we're going to get to play defense. And it finally happened in the AFC Championship game. So this one to me, because of you, Myra Kraft, that year was really special to me, to the team, to the Kraft family. This is just one of those games. And it was against one of the teams that we battled. You want to talk about battle. This was a war with these guys. When we played them, it was physical, it was tough, and we had to have tough guys on the field, and we had some injuries on defense that year, and you were a tough guy.
We'll jump into it, but is this the greatest game of all time?
The greatest game of all time, I saw the list. Again, there's some championship games that I think are, obviously up there, but this is a special one of all time.
Okay, special of all time. We like that. That's the first time we ever heard it's not the greatest game of all time, but it's the world's specialist game of all time.
One of the special ones.
What is it, a SOG? The specialist of all games.
Specialist of all.
Matty P, what's life looking like these days? What are you doing?
So back home with my family, took the year off. Just was in Philadelphia last year. That was great. Great people down there, but my family was still in Massachusetts. Missed my kids. My kids got big really fast. My oldest, Dominic, he came to visit me on Thanksgiving, and he was about chest level. And then he came back for Christmas. He's 13, and he was looking me, damn near right eye to eye. And I was like, okay, this is going really fast. You know me, you know how I worked. Like, work-life balance wasn't my strong suit. So just had an opportunity to be dad, and that's what I'm doing.
I tell this story why people always ask me, why aren't you getting into coaching? And I always say, I did my time. Okay. I was in New England, and I would leave the facility. I put my hours in. I put a 15, 14-hour day in. But I would leave. I say it all the time. I'd leave at 7 o'clock. And you see Matty P specifically, B Flow, and all these guys talking to their kids, seeing their kids for the first time of the day, right before they had to go back in for night meetings with Bill.
Right.
Like, I ain't doing that. And Matty P was one of the guys that was a cot guy. We like to call him a cot guy because you'd look into Matty P's office and you'd see the fucking cot because he slept there all night. Now, what are you doing 24 hours in the building? Explain this to me.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of times at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, holy cow, like, is this even, what are we doing? Just kind of how the day was. I think my thing coaching and why I spent so many hours there is I was always paranoid that, the next day would come and I wouldn't be prepared to give the players every bit of information they needed to be successful in the game. It just kept me up. And the thing about it is, everybody calls it work, and it wasn't work. It was my passion.
Yeah.
So like when you do something that you're that passionate about, time doesn't really matter. Just so you got to get up at 3:30 in the morning. You get up at 3:30 in the morning. Who cares? You got to work till 1. Work till 1. Who cares? If I'm doing something that I know I've got to have, preparation, and I got to be prepared to give the players, give you guys the information so you can go do what you're supposed to do, then I can stay up for days. It doesn't matter.
Now you're kind of like coaching Belichick because you got to get him prepared with all this stuff, everything, because you're helping him out with all his podcasts. So does it keep you up at night to have him fully prepared for all these podcasts and media gigs that he does?
I think Bill's doing just great.
That means you're doing a great coach. We got a great coach. we got a great.
We're having a lot of fun. We have our podcast on YouTube, Coach, which
it's been killing it. I watch it. I like
appreciate
people.
that.
Well, people don't realize I listen to this fucking guy. These guys. Speak for 15 or for 12 years, and I was like in the front listening to everything. So
you were.
It's kind of like I watch that and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like normal.
Yeah, feels good, feels comfortable.
Feels comfortable.
It feels, yeah.
And I agree with a lot of how you guys, it brushes up my knowledge and because it makes me hit stories when I hear you guys talking about stuff or how you guys break down a certain coverage or something. Then it sparks something in my mind that I can talk about.
It's how we see the game, So what happened?
Because I see the game how you see the game. Because that's where I went to school.
That's right. We did. We went to a doctorate program. I tell everybody all the time, like we went to a doctorate program of football, and 20 years, at New England. Bill and I, Bill's like my closest friend. We spent a lot of time every day together, more time than with our families. Last February, I was actually driving down to Philly, and he's like, I got to go to New York. He's like, do you mind if I, jump in the car with you? And I was like, oh, come on, we'll drive. So it was 3 hours, he and I just in the car, and we were just going. Like we go. Like we can, the stories, we're talking about the rosters in the league right now. We're talking about coaches, coaching changes. We're talking about trees. We're talking about players. We're talking about past players. It was 3 hours of game plans and just all of it. And I pull into Manhattan, and he's like, oh, that was great. And I was like, honestly, Bill, I was like, if we had filmed this whole thing for 3 hours, I'm like, everyone would have been amazing. Like it just, and the idea hit me, and I was like, I go, hey, I got an idea. I go, I'm gonna go write some stuff. I said, I'm gonna call you later, and I have an idea. He's like, all right. So I did. I just wrote the show. I wrote the coach show and kind of a bunch of different ideas, things that we could do. It started off with a lot of, hey, let's go through a normal work week like we would, and kind of give everyone a behind the scenes look at kind of how we game plan, like how we prepare to, hey, maybe we'll look at some games. We'll talk about matchups. We'll talk about the players. Let's just teach some football. Let's just go teach football because that's what we love to do. And, we were talking, we were like, we hear this term all the time, double mug. This was actually what started the conversation. Like,
What's double mug for kindergartners?
what is everybody like? What is that though? But that's the big thing. Like everyone's like, well, what exactly? We hear it all the time, but what exactly is double mug? So I was like, hey, why don't we just break it down?
Yeah.
6 on the line. Why do they do it? 5 on the line. What do those look like? 7 up and just, so it's been fun. We get up on the board. I give him do a couple demos once in a while, which is good. He
It's been fun.
Hey, beat the crap out of me on the one ball security thing. I was like, you don't have to hit me. It's like, it's okay. And we get to tell some stories. And one of my favorite ones, obviously, was, I got him to cut up film. I don't know if you saw that one, but like we use the term all the time, like cut ups. Hey, we're gonna go watch this cut up, and we say it all the time. And everyone's like, well, where did that come from? And it actually, we used to physically cut the film, and he just that's when you get, you pull Bill out, and he becomes the guy we all know. It was awesome to watch him do all that stuff. So
I think it's been great content, and it's been super fun. I love Lombardi in there as well because he gives a whole nother perspective, and he's great at talking. If you want real content, this is what I think you need to do.
I'm in.
We're pitching, baby.
This is what you do. You get 15 to 30 of the worst fucking football plays of the week. And you sit there and lowlights. And you don't tell Bill there's a camera in there. And you just say it's me and you guys. And then you film it. And then you have him discuss like what that is. Yeah. And I think that would be just pure fucking gold.
Yeah. Lowlights, when we would get those in the squad meeting, it was always going to be real interesting for sure. Look, that's the beauty of coaching, and certainly the way that we were raised, in New England. And we could certainly look at things we did well and learn from, but we definitely learned from the things that we did not so well in those team meetings for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, that's part of the game. That's part of the game. Now, what in football right now, or what organization are you looking at like, man, they got a lot of shit dialed up right now. I like how their coaching staff's doing. I like how their roster's built. Yeah, there's some deficiencies here, but I like their theme of style of football. What are some of the organizations you like right now?
Well, just coming from Philly, I think, this year they're just doing a great job. I mean,
Saquon Barkley's not like a fucking different. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's awesome though. It's great.
Insane.
I mean, he does the reverse leapfrog, and I'm like sitting there with my son, and I was like, you will never see that again. No. I was like, it was the craziest thing ever, So you appreciate, as we know, when you see greatness. And I just think from top down, Howie, Nick, they do a great job, Jeffrey Lurie, of just bringing in really good football players, tough team. Their offensive line, I love offensive line. I love the play of the offensive line. And Jeff Stoutland, who I coached with at Syracuse years ago, he's there. I think he's developed those guys. It's
been remarkable to see how that offensive line's played without Jason Kelce the first year.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they have a generational talent running back right now that makes a lot of people right.
Yeah.
But still, they're beating fucking guys up.
Yeah, they're moving the line of scrimmage. They're big.
Swallow you up.
They just cover you up. And with, a guy like Saquon, doesn't take much.
That Jalen Carter guy, he looks like he's in shape right now.
Yeah, so he is. Last year in practice, there was a practice. He went out. We were in pads, and it was like one of those deals where he just destroyed practice.
Yeah.
Like he was unblockable, and you were like, "Wow, that's next level stuff." So you couldn't wait to see him come along from that standpoint. But I think, 2014 we went to the Super Bowl, and we know how hard that is, and we know how long the season is. If you remember 2015. At the end of 2015, we kind of hit a bad skid at the end before the season. We lost, I think, 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 6, whatever it was bad until we got to the playoffs and we pushed to the championship game.
And that year in 15, Nate Soldier went down in 8, Dion Lewis went down. Yep. I broke a foot.
Yep.
So we didn't, we were blowing teams out that year.
Yeah.
We were I thought that we were really good that year. And then all of a sudden you lose guys.
So Philly last year, same thing. But now come back a year later, they get a little bit more rest in the offseason last year. Now they come back a year later and they're rolling just like we did in 16.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of similarities with that 3-year stretch and then, kind of what they've been going through. So Philly, I like Buffalo right now. I mean, obviously, Josh, look, I'm always going to look at the offenses of that will keep me up at night. You ask why I don't sleep. Well, when you're playing Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, I would obviously my beard was big and black at the time, and I would have these little white hairs. I'd be like, okay, that's Peyton Manning. I'm like, this one's Drew Brees. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because
no.
you'd stay up at night going, how are we going to disguise? I think there's so many quarterbacks right now, and Josh Allen, and I think Buffalo's running the ball. They're doing the things they need to do to win. It's good.
They are doing very, very good. And I've been, since I've started doing TV, I always said, can we get them a fucking run game and take the ball out of Josh's hand 45 times of the game and let him use his superpowers on situational plays? Can we fucking do that? That's what they've done.
Yeah.
The one thing that scares me with Buffalo,
See if you get it right. What do you got?
they're light. Their secondary's
Yep.
terrible,
Well,
and they're
keep
light
them. They're light where?
linebackers. They're light linebackers
Good.
and up front. And I love Milano, but he's got a bicep tendon, and he can't get off the blockers. And I get so scared. They play that 2 shell with the safeties in the run box, and I remember whenever we struggled with them, they were always light. And you could run the ball down the field on them, and you could control the game. And look at the teams that are in it right
It's
now.
like you sat in the meetings. It's like you paid attention. You literally, it's like you know, this is what makes me the happiest when I hear you guys, you know, Brew and everybody, you know, that does this now, or even when we used to be in the Saturday night meal room,
Yeah.
we'd be watching college football.
Yeah.
And you guys would be running through situations on the screen, and Bill and I would stand back and I would just smile because I'm like, they're listening. I'm like, they're listening. But you're exactly right with Buffalo. And why are they light? Because they play nickel defense.
Nickel defense, small.
They play small. So the run, control the game, love it. Control the game. How do you control the game? Run the ball, stop the run, cover kicks.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and you nailed it.
And, you know, Josh, and then if you do that, I'll tell you a little template out here because we played Josh a bunch. Control the game, you run the ball, you have long drives.
Yep.
Then Josh gets a little antsy if you're scoring points. You get a little antsy, and then he'll give you 3 or 4 chances where you could pick him
Yeah, he's going to give
because
you
he's got that gunslinger in him.
So that is the one thing Buffalo has
Scares
done this
me.
year. But that's what they've done this year. They haven't turned the ball over.
That's exactly. And then another thing with Buffalo, this has been very remarkable.
See, this was like 3 hours in the car with Bill. The way that we were all raised, we could grab any, we could do this for hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
But with Buffalo, you know, it just scares, you know, it's been really great to see this because preseason, we were all thinking, you know, this is a rebuild year, you know, and they didn't have the offensive weapons. But what they've done well is they've drafted that Shakir guy is a difference maker.
Yeah.
He's a safety blanket, little Beasley type that Allen loves to have in the middle of the field. Coleman's contested catch guy. He's made a couple of those.
Yeah.
Samuel, he needs to make a couple more, but they got the 2 tight ends.
Well, I was going to say, what else did they do?
The tight ends.
12 personnel.
Yeah.
2 tight ends.
And then they're running that ball cook. So I like them too.
And you're right, because with the defensive side of it, new safeties, you know, they had some new pieces. And
Rap's
we know,
good. I like
he
Rap,
is.
but he plays too hard for his size. He knocks himself out. And could Buffalo actually win it this year, though?
I think that, but Kansas City, you know, again, love Kansas City, love Andy, love Mahomes, love how they win.
It's hard for me right now to bet against the Chiefs. Now, everyone wants to say, oh, they're not playing good. They're not. You look at them on 3rd down.
Yep.
They dominate.
You're doing your
You
homework.
look at them on gotta
You're
have
doing
it.
your homework.
Oh,
I like your
I
homework.
got to talk about this
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Why don't you call me? I can help you. I'm like, look at all this stuff. Let's go. What are we doing?
I would love to, but they can win situationally,
Yeah.
which scares me because if you look at all the other teams, Buffalo can do it, but Buffalo don't have Kansas City defense. They don't got that defense. When you need a play, they can make a play.
Yeah, Spags does a great job.
And
but that
Spags knows
they're
how to win these
disguised.
games.
Yeah.
And I don't like the plans of other offenses against Spags. So like that's why I think that the field needs to step their game up.
The other thing Kansas City does right now is 5+ minute drives. They lead the league.
Yes.
Time of possession.
Time.
So they are slowing the game down. They're not going to give the other offense as many possessions. And 3rd down. So 3rd down conversion, slow the game down, hold the ball, situational football, Andy, Mahomes, bet on them. And that's how they win.
They may not have an explosive run game, but you know what they have? They have an effective run game.
Yeah.
They get that 3.8 yards every time. It may not be 4, but they set themselves up in those 3rd downs manageable, and then Kelsey gets to do his shit. Then they got a couple of those draw after Friday practice plays that they fucking do in the red area. Like they do it. We've seen it.
And then you got Mahomes.
And when you have Mahomes, which has been the really craziest thing for me because it's a testament to Andy Reid changing and evolving, because I remember specifically anytime we played the Chiefs and the Andy Reid team, coaching staff, Bill would always say, this guy does not want to run the ball. He wants to throw the ball. It's in his heart. He wants to throw the ball, which he's kind of changed.
Andy's unbelievable. Andy 100% has dialed into the players he has and how to win in late part of the year. And we all know controlling the game, and they do a great job of it.
Without a doubt. And it's crazy how Shanahan came from that West Coast, but he, instead of using those short passes, developed the run game. So he's taking those.
Right.
Those.
But Mike's a little different now. Mike Shanahan, he was at Oakland, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then when he got let go from Oakland, he went to San Francisco, but George Seifert was the head coach.
Yeah.
Okay, so he went, learned the West Coast in San Francisco, but all those other guys, remember, Holmgren, all those guys that left to go to Green Bay.
Yeah.
So that whole tree had kind of gone over there. So he had the principles of the West Coast, but then he dialed into the run game. His run game that he developed at Denver was that zone, but he had the changeup of the power run game. And really
and that's what Kyle runs.
And yeah, I mean, that whole
that's all they
family
do.
And Kyle's evolved too, his own sense. But Mike Shanahan, I'll never forget 2006. We played. Okay, see if you remember this one. I know you weren't there yet. 2006, we played in what was called the China Bowl. Look this one.
I
up.
remember hearing about
So
this.
we were going to China.
Yeah.
We were going to be the precursor for the Olympics. The Olympics were in 2008 in China. 2007, we were supposed to go to China in the preseason. We were going to play Seattle. We were going to fly to Seattle, play Seattle. We were both teams were going to get on one plane, fly to China, be the precursor for the Olympics. And so the year before that, in 2006, we're playing Denver. We had the China Bowl. It's painted on the field. That all of it. We had jerseys in Chinese, business cards.
You went to China.
It was crazy. We were going to China.
Okay.
So that game we played Denver, and I remember that game specifically because we're playing Mike Shanahan, and we're ready for the zone team. We're ready for the zones. And so all week I've got Brew and Junior, my linebackers, and I'm telling them, look, we're going to creep the line of scrimmage. We used to play base defense, 3-4. We're going to move up to 2.5 yards off the line because we got to go press these guards right now. We got to get them off of the defensive line, Vince and those guys, Ty, and we got to get downhill. Well, Mike went to the whole power gap, duo run game, and it was all down blocks. And
what is power gap duo run game?
So all kind of the same deal, right? Good question. Depends on what side of the ball.
Zone is if you're getting everyone trying to move sideways.
Everyone's
and you use
moving
space.
in the same direction. Now we go to the gap.
What is
or
that?
The duo or the power.
It's double teams everywhere?
Yeah, double teams all along the stretch. We're trying to move bodies. So we're 2-on-1.
So it's 300 pounds versus
it's 600 versus 300.
Okay.
Yeah, 600 versus 300. So we're moving the line of scrimmage. Love it. So instead of pressing the line of scrimmage, we actually, linebacker-wise, we got to stack. We got to get over the top, pull the double teams off. Well, Junior, who was we were in the system, he's running through. And so we got gashed in the run game. I mean, I think we won, but we gashed. And so now we got to go in Monday to Bill's office, and we got to go through the tape, and it was not pretty. It was not good. It was a very long meeting. I've got Junior Seau, Teddy Bruschi, myself, Bill, killing us because we couldn't fit the runs, power. It's not zone. We practiced zone all week, ready for the Shanahan stretch. And I remember just walking out and Junior looking at me. He's like, I don't think I've ever been spoken to by a coach like that before. That was the craziest meeting. And Teddy's like, yeah, we just got to get it right. It was just coaching. It was nothing new. But that was like the eye-opening moment, I think, for Junior. Like,
buddy.
Holy,
I don't think I ever.
Buddy. Because Junior had two different buddies, right?
Yeah, it depends
was
on
buddy and then buddy, depending if he knew you or if he didn't know you.
Buddy.
Yeah. He had a couple different ones. But so that was the China Bowl. That was the Mike Shanahan. So he had the stretch, but they had the downhill run too.
So, Matty P, walk us through how you got into coaching. You're from New York guy, Italiano. Like, how does an Italian rocket scientist get into coaching?
Yeah, good question. So, quick version of my story. I appreciate you asking. So, born and raised in Syracuse, New York, right in between Syracuse and Utica. And my mom's from Long Island, so a little bit time down in Long Island and then up in Syracuse. Family, hardcore. We're hardcore Italian. It is, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Northeast Italian. Played Division III college football. Went to
position?
school. I was a center and guard.
Center and guard.
Played tight end in the heavy packages in my young years in college, but senior year starting right guard and then played center when I was recruited as a center. So Division III is great because everyone's 5'10" or 6 foot, and just whether you weigh 170 or 300, that's it. But everybody's the same height, and it's just depending on how much you weigh. So We were actually, I went to a school called RPI, Rensselaer.
Go Engineers.
Engineering school, yeah. I wanted to be, originally kind of growing up, I want, like
Wait,
everybody.
so the mascot's an engineer?
It was an engineer. It actually was. Not like train, not like, I don't know.
Like-
Like engineer, like, I don't know.
Did
It wasn't
you
even
have, like-
pocket, wasn't even like a pocket protector. I don't even know what the hell it was. It was just
Wow.
engineer, I guess.
That's tight. What's on the side of the helmet? Like
Your number for a couple years or an R. It was just, keep it simple.
I would put like I would put like
Pythagorean theorem.
yeah.
Actually, you know what the
Pythagorean
best one was? We really, F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, because that's what we were doing.
That's exactly.
That's exactly what we were doing.
Force times acceleration.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, great engineering. So wanted to play in the NFL and do all that stuff, right? And then my dad quickly sat me down and said, "Listen, you're Italian. You're going to be about 5'10". You're not athletic. So the NFL thing is cool, but you're not going to play. So what else? I was a child of the '80s. Fell in love with Top Gun. Wanted to be a military pilot. Like I was all in. Like that's what I wanted to do. Love planes.
Yeah.
So was thinking about going to Annapolis, West Point, to fly, do all that in the academies. You start junior year, whatever. We had a pretty good high school team. So we were in the championship game. So you start getting recruited, like everybody else. It's good. Even though it's Division III, you're still getting recruited. You can get money and go to good schools that maybe you couldn't got into if you didn't have sports, So RPI I knew of. My uncle had gone there. He was a really successful engineer. They had a great ROTC program at our RPI. So I wanted to play football in college, and I just decided to go there as an aeronautical engineer. Looked at what was called PLC, which is Platoon Leadership for the Marine Corps at the time, which they were looking for pilots. And kind of that was going to be my route. That's where I was going. So design planes, fly them, all that deal, maybe in the military after school. And love football, like all of us, just
Football guy.
love it, right? The smell, all of it. Blew out my shoulder my junior year. The Marine Corps PFT is pull-ups. I can't do pull-ups with a shoulder that's wrecked. Plus, I'm 5'10", I weigh 275, 280. So
Wow.
that's not a good look.
No.
Really hard to do pull-ups. So luckily, you're kind of able to get out of those programs. And I just, rehab, got ready for my senior year. Played my senior year. We had a really good team. Graduated and was going to go back to school for my MBA. So engineering, aeronautical engineering, MBA, kind of that route. And so I GA'd.
So you want to design airplanes to sell them?
I mean, just put it all together, right? Just capitalize it and go. So I went back, GA'd, coached the offensive line. I played offensive line. And, I remember just the first half of the year going, you miss it.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I could still do this. Like I could still play. Like, you're kind of like, it's hard when the game's done. Like when the game's done, it's done.
It's done.
Like you're not putting the pads on. We're not going out back in the backyard and, playing the game. So, but I remember, I was coaching the offensive line. This kid, Jimmy Schertzer, I still remember his name. He was a right guard. He was a sophomore. And we're getting ready to play Coast Guard Academy. And I just remember teaching him, like, hey, look, this is what's going to happen on the goal line. They're going to do this. Make this block. We're going to score. It's going to be really good. And it happened in the game. And we scored. And the joy that I saw on his face by doing something and achieving, it just flipped everything for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen, to watch somebody actually be able to do what they work so hard to do, apply it on the field, help a team win and go, that I got hooked. Now my dad was a wrestling coach, so he was a teacher. My mom was a teacher also. So teaching was definitely part of in my blood, but I loved it. Right. But I get done with that year and my mom was kind of like, hey, that that's probably going to pay you really well. You need to go use it, because your dad and I are getting ready to retire. They were older. And
get you out of the house.
Yeah, you're done.
This
you're
isn't
off.
2026
This is it.
where you're living in there until you're 35.
No, you're 18. You're out. Let's go. Figure it out.
Let's go.
So
Italian.
I did. It is. I did. I left. I got an engineering job. I did engineering for 2 years, but it was the same thing. It was getting towards the fall. You start to get fresh cut grass smell, and you start to just the sweat, the lock, all of it. All of that stuff just hits you, and you're like, man, I miss this a lot. So, coach high school football. And my boss was great. He let me do that, and I was volunteering. I was actually living in Syracuse. I was volunteering at SU with the strength staff at the time, and I don't know. I didn't love my job at the time. My boss was great. The people I worked with were great. I missed football. I interviewed for a job with Electric Boat I had been talking to them for a couple years. I was offered a job as a nuclear maintenance engineer for all submarines and aircraft carriers in the United States Navy, right? So huge job, great job, unbelievable. You know,
Submarines.
planes are great. Subs are super cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, diving into how those are designed and put together and all that was amazing. So I get the job. I'm literally driving home from the job. Phone rings. It's one of my old college coaches. He was at Amherst College in Western Mass. He's like, hey, look, I got a D-line job here. Pays like $5,000. He's like, what do you think? He's like, you want to get into coaching? And I was like, you know, I just walked out of a building where they offered me like, you know, you're 20-nothing years old, right? I'd been doing engineering for a couple of years. I had like a BMW, a Jeep, and like, you know, I'm buying stuff. Like, well, I don't know what to do, right? You buy stuff. So very good offer from that company, good salary, all the rest of it, and like $5,000 a year coaching job. And I was like, yeah, yep, I want it. Let me do it. I'm going to do it. Because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And if you're going to bet on anyone, bet on yourself, right? Yeah. So I called my mom. She's like, how'd it go? I was like, it's great. I got the job. She's like, that's awesome. That's amazing. Like, how cool. I'm like, I'm not going to take it. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I think I'm going to go coach football. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, they're going to pay me like $5,000. It's going to be great. I'm going to go coach, you know, defensive line at Amherst College. And she was like, what are you talking about? We just, you know, you just graduated. You got this. I said, yeah. I said, if I don't do this now, I said, I'm never going to do it. So quit everything, moved to Amherst. I coached defensive line. I was special teams, and I sold everything. You know, because you can't live on $5,000 a year, you know, but you're saving everything you can. So I sold all my cars. I bought a bicycle, which is great around January when you're riding your bike to work up a hill, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning, cars are whizzing by you, you're getting covered, and you're just thinking like, if I just swerve into the road and one of these dudes hits me, like all I want is a ride. Like, just give me, I don't even care. just give me, like, I'm just drive me off up the hill. Cause this, like, I'm not a small dude. So you know, a mile up a hill on a bicycle in January is not fun. Like, it's not fun at all. So
both ways.
Yeah. Coming down was good because coming down was good.
We grew up in Northern California. But he said he walked to
uphill.
School and both ways, snow, uphill.
Can I jump in here real quick? I didn't realize you coached at Amherst. Can you speak a little bit about the Amherst-Williams rivalry?
Yeah, well, absolutely. The little three, right? Yeah. And then Bill obviously went to Wesleyan, so that was another thing we used to talk about in the NESCAC. Huge rivalry. The two schools. I think the story was the president at Williams left. I think he took all the books out of the library, went to Amherst, created this huge rivalry between the two teams. So I remember my first year. I'm like, all right, let's go. All right, let's go beat Union. And I was so like just in the like, this is my rival. It's a rival game. Let's go. And I was like, Union. And you can see all the guys like, what the fuck? Like, what is he? We're playing Williams, coach. Like, what? So we actually won. And it was the first time we had beaten them in like, I don't even know how long, 4 or 5 years. So that was really cool. I actually wound up finishing my master's at UMass. Mark Whipple was the head coach there. Don Brown was the defensive coordinator. They actually won the national championship around the same time. So I left Amherst. I went back to Syracuse. I was lucky enough. Coach Pasqualoni was the head coach. Went back there, and I coached at Syracuse. George Giulione went back to offense. So played offense, coached offense, went to Amherst, coached defense, coached special teams, went back to Syracuse, coached offense, was the offensive line with Coach Giulione. And really at that point, like, you know, growing up in that area for me, like, that was it. There was no pro sports. You know, it was Syracuse football. It was Syracuse basketball back in the day in the old school Big East. Like, that was unbelievable. You know, the rivalries, the Carrier Dome. And so going back to Syracuse for me was like amazing, you know, and great people, great coaches. You know, was there 3 years, and Coach P actually was going to flip me over. I was going to go back to defense. I was going to coach linebackers there. And Brian Dable calls. Brian and I had played against each other in college. He had went to U of R. I was at RPI. And he said, hey, he's like, they were in the middle of getting ready for the Super Bowl run and all this stuff. In the
What year is this?
So this is 03.
03.
And he's like, look, we're going to have an opening here. You know, so I'm moving around. Some people are moving around. He's like, you know, do you want to come out and interview? I was like, that, and I hadn't even really thought about pro football at that point. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, let me go check this out. You know, my draw to the game originally was, I felt, and you know, probably the same in college as a college coach. My college coaches were incredibly influential in my life. Yeah, I just felt college I could really help. Yeah, really help these. You know, help. I just wanted to help. You know, just wanted to help kids and help them become, you know, young adults, young men. So I thought college was it. So I go and interview, and there was Syracuse guys at New England. Ivan Fears, the Syracuse guy. Mike Wosick was there. He was a Syracuse guy. So I go in, I interview Dable, obviously, Josh, Charlie was the offensive coordinator. I was interviewing for offensive position with those guys, helping Dante, Scar helping with the O-line because that's what I was doing at Syracuse. 3 hours with Bill, going back and forth, playing the, football chess game, which he's very good at. But
so what is that? How does that, what is football chess? What is Bill grilling you on?
He wanted to really figure out, how did I think? How did I problem solve? And I think that's what he was looking for in the job, which, I did a pretty good job of, and after that they...
Now, what's a question like?
It's just stuff that's going to be really common to us now.
Okay. You're sitting there.
Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
What are you going to call in a 3rd and 3 situation? Your fucking headset goes out. All of a sudden, your middle linebacker.
So right now, my 13-year-old is out of watching the show.
How are you going to do this?
Is
that a situation he's asking you, or is it like
we talked a lot about
the square root of 144?
Yeah, we were
12?
we were doing Pythagorean theorem and no, we were talking about, hey, here's a formation. This is what the defense did. Why do you think the defense did that? Things like which you would know as like a crunch call. Right. So we could call cover 2, but based on formation, you could bring the corner off the edge because it was a short side or nub side on the backside. And now it looks like a pressure. So a lot of people are going to say, oh, no, they called a pressure here. But they didn't. It's just a formation adjustment to the defense.
Yeah.
So
nasty split to the boundary.
Nasty split to the backside. So things like that of just trying to see, how did you see the game? How did you process? How do you problem solve? Of course, there's the grunt work that we have to do, the padding, which was brutal. But all of us that went in there as young coaches, right? So the young guys that got there at this, basically within a year or two of each other was Dable, Josh, Casario, myself. Now, again, Dable and Josh started on defense. I started on offense. Corey Unlin was on defense when I got there.
Cross coach him.
And then we flipped. Yeah. Everybody flipped. Dable came over.
Flo went to special teams.
Josh came
defense.
over. Well, I took Flo from special teams. I had Brian Ferentz. He went to offense. He started with me. He was one of my QCs. Flo was my QC.
Was Brian over there? What year was that?
When he started,
10?
he started on defense, and then we switched before the season. He went over to offense.
Tight ends.
Yep. But it was all, we were just, learning the game. So get the job offered from New England and basically never left. That was it. I went to the interview, packed my car. I had a car at that point. I bought another car, which was good.
Nice.
And I think I went from $5,000 a year to, I think Coach P paid me I don't know if it was 17. It might have been 17 or 12,
baby,
15.
money bags.
I was like, I'm getting a car. This is great. This is, I can afford lunch. You do though, and coaches, they're great. Older coaches would be like, hey, I need you to go get lunch. Here's, $20. Here's $20, go get a sandwich. And you'd come back and you'd be like, get the sandwich, whatever, you get the change. He's like, don't ever give me the change. And he was like, okay. So they would,
Yeah. Randy used to do that to me as a rookie because I was a 7th rounder. Except $20, it would be like a $800 order.
Yeah.
For fucking right before travel, but he'd give me the money.
The travel cash was great.
Travel cash.
As you were a young coach, young player, you had the older guys.
Per diem.
Take this per diem.
But our per diem was the
totally
lowest.
Less than everybody else.
Yeah, it was $36. Yeah. I remember when I first got there, it was $36.
Do you know what we used to do with the per diem? Were you there when we would do the plane?
We'll be in the plane.
Yeah, it was, as a young coach, I was like, they'd come back. Please win. Okay, please, I need this.
The raffle.
This is the lights are being turned off. In my apartment if I don't win the raffle on the plane.
So everyone would put all their money and you put your initial on it and you'd put it in this bag. And one of the stewardess, she'd go out and she'd pull it out, or she'd pull out the first one, gets his money back. So the person would get the money back, and then the second one would take the whole bag.
Oh, you want to be second all day?
All day?
Did you ever win?
Listen, I would take either one because I couldn't afford to lose the $36. I was like, I was done.
And you can't not put it in.
Yeah, it was
By the
gas.
time I got out, about 64.
Yeah.
Per diem went up every couple years.
Yeah, if I lost that per diem, I wasn't going to be able to leave the facility because gas had to stay in my car.
Yeah.
Not that I was leaving anyways.
Coaches, they got nothing. They were so broke.
Yeah.
Matty P, did you ever win
broke.
I don't think I ever won.
Damn.
I know.
It's like the damn Powerball.
I didn't even put mine in, Matty P.
So in the end, you're like, you won.
Yeah.
You were good.
Even when I was older and I had money, I still didn't put it in. But
so that was it. I got to New England and just I tried to learn as much as I could. I was on offense obviously for 2 years with Scar, and then Bill came and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna flip you over. You're gonna coach the linebackers on the other side of the ball." And I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be good."
Wow.
Here we go. Yeah.
So Bill clearly did his homework on you though.
He's like, all right, dude. He worked on submarines. I'm a Navy guy. He's a smart guy. I'm a smart guy.
Yeah.
So
we had the NESCAC, Little Three, Amherst, Williams, Wesleyan.
100%. But before we move on, rocket science shit. Rocket
All my
science.
friends that are actually rocket scientists get so pissed
Why
when people say that, because like, bro, you don't even do this.
Don't steal valor.
Yeah. That's what I do.
Aeronautical engineering shit. How does rocket fuel burn in space without oxygen?
Great question. We're gonna cut this out of the entire episode.
Why?
It doesn't need oxygen.
It doesn't need oxygen?
I don't know. I'm gonna text somebody on that one. Killing me right now.
What about why
Damn.
are
Can we go through like theories of lift?
what is theories
like,
of lift?
Of like, coefficients of lift on a plane. Like I actually was awake on some of those classes.
It was so funny.
Listen, I played football too. Like I was like, what do we?
I remember.
Listen, here's the whole thing. I went to RPI. The valedictorian of my high school, she went to RPI. I sat right next to her, super smart. I was like, I need a lot of help here. Like we're, the rest of my football buddies are like passed out. They're taking like, my electives in school. These were my electives. So like my main courses were like theory of flight, thermodynamics 1, thermodynamics 2, eigenvalues, mathematical fluid mechanics, all that stuff.
Standard.
I was like, I need can I get like a elective I don't want to say easy, but I'm just like,
Yeah, you
compared to
got it.
those. It was like
You always gotta have that.
thermodynamics 1, thermodynamics 2. I was like, I'm going to take econ, microeconomics, macroeconomics. Those are my classes. I was like, okay, I just need a couple of these. Like,
Those are your electives?
What was your course load at Kent State?
I had African American studies.
Reading 1.
Oh, I had a sex ed class. I did a human sexuality class.
Nice.
We learned. It was fucking awesome.
Nice.
And then I had a lot of bunch of business classes.
When we had Ernie on the show, we were like, oh, wow.
Ernie loves that old
Ernie's-
academic
Ernie's
talk.
one of the great things. Ernie obviously loves football like we do. So I go to dinner at Ernie's one night. I go up to see my wife and Ernie lives in an amazing, cool old house.
It's
right,
300 years old
yeah.
that his like parents lived
Yeah,
in.
exactly.
Or
But
it's been in his family
he
forever.
built a library in the attic of this thing that is the coolest historical like playbooks. Like I was like, Ernie, let me learn about the flex defense. He's like, boom, grabs the book, pulls it out. Here's the Dallas flex defense. Randy White, the whole deal. And we're going like, I was like hours up there. I was like, okay, let me give me the whatever, Orange Crush, give me the Purple People Eaters. And it's like, we're pulling playbooks off. So that to me, I love Ernie. Like that was the best. Like,
He is an
and again,
encyclopedia.
I walked by his office every day and it was like, all right, Ernie, what are we talking about today? Let's learn, let's talk. We'd go back and forth. And
What was the best Ernie nugget? Because I always ask, because I always used to use Ernie. Because like people were like scared of him. Like, what does this guy do? He's eating a tomato by himself. Like, who is this guy? And I would go up to him. I'm like, Ernie, what's the give me a little something on the punter. What's good? He's like, oh, well, he does this. It's gonna,
it's like we're just
What is his Ernie nugget?
impersonations. So my wife and I were going to Italy. We were going for 3 weeks, and he loves to travel.
Yeah.
Loves to travel, and he's been everywhere. And so he got all excited to tell me about a race called the Palio in Siena. If you look it up, bro, you got to go. This is the most insane thing. We've been to a lot of insane things.
Yeah.
This was insane. So it happens twice a year. I think it was in July. We were going in July. So he tells me he's all excited about the Palio. Whole different story.
What
That
kind of
was
race?
crazy. It's a horse race.
Okay.
It's literally, I would say this in a nice way because it's my people, but it's like it's the village idiot on the village horse. I swear to you. It's like the most amazing thing. It's the most corrupt.
I've seen
betting.
videos. It's wild.
Unbelievable. And it's in the center piazza in Siena. But the pageantry, the just all the villages come out the different sections. It's amazing. It's like majestic.
And
It's
Ernie
like
went to
super
the
cool.
fight? Or
And Ernie had,
the race?
he's the one that told me about this, and he had gone. So he had also told me that Ernie loves lions. Like he loves lions. So he had told me. So everywhere I went in Italy, there's like lion heads, from the Roman days and all that stuff. So my wife took pictures of all the lion heads, and we made him a book, like a table book of all the lion heads in Italy. And he was like, it was just, like you see that other side, like get him
that's a
back to that
thoughtful
person.
gift.
So it was pretty cool. So yeah, there it is. It's dude, we are. So I'm in the middle. Like, see that craziness in the middle. So we get there, and of course, like it's one of those things. Like, see all the people sitting in the balcony, like all those people up there. So I'm at the front desk in Siena, the resort we're staying. I'm like, hey, can I get tickets? Like, how do you like? And they call it like, yeah, they're like 2,000 whatever it was at the time, like a ticket in somebody's living room. Like $7. Like I don't think we're doing that to sit in somebody's living room. They're like, well, you can sit in the middle. It's free. And I was like, okay, well, free. Okay, like, hey, babe, come on, we're going. This is gonna be great. So we got see the horse with no rider, bro. Wait till I tell you this story. So this is the one we went to. So I'm probably in this picture somewhere. I'm telling you, you're going to find me. So it is 109 degrees. We're on cobblestone. Once you're in there, you cannot leave.
Oh, no.
They close you in there. So no bathroom, 8 hours. My wife's like, what are we doing? Right. You know, because it's all real fun. It's all real fun when you go in there at like 9 a.m. But by 5 p.m., she's like, what? This is
standing all day?
Yeah. And you can't get drinks. Like you can't get anything. And everybody in there, what happened was, because it was empty, I was like, this is great. We're right by the finish line. What you don't realize is that they parade everybody through. All of the villages fill in their sections. So now you're in the middle of like crazy people that actually have a lot of money on these horses and they're betting and all the rest of the stuff. So it's 3 laps. So it takes off and the first lap's nuts. And it's like sand. They put sand on cobblestone. So that's real good, right? And the horses are slipping. The horse with no rider, this dude comes around the corner and like launches his rider into the crowd. So people just get wiped out by the guy. The horse bangs into the side. So he starts running because he's just running. So he starts running with the rest of the horses. He gets lap 2, he stops. Now he's standing perpendicular as the rest of the horses are coming on. I'm like, this is like bowling. This is going to be amazing, right? So all the horses scatter, dudes get thrown off. The guys are like trying to avoid. Now the horse starts running the opposite direction. So now here comes on the 3rd lap, everybody's running. They're running at each other.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
What is this, bumper cars?
Yeah, well, so now the 2 lead horses get around and I'm looking and the guy in the orange who won, he is whipping, he and the guy in the red and black were the 2. They're whipping each other's horses to try to like get them, like they're like hit. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I want to see this race in Louisiana.
I was gonna say Kentucky Derby. Take notes.
It was. I mean,
Thought about
the
whipping
whole
other
town
horses.
It was unbelievable.
That
man.
is so cool.
So that was Ernie. Ernie gave me the polio.
Freaking Ernie. When Ernie, so we had him out here before he came out. He looked at my address and he read up on the development of where I live in Santa Monica
history.
area in LA.
Yeah.
We took him out to dinner. He's like, wait, is there that Bill? Yeah. He's like, he's just so Ernie. I was like, oh my God, this guy is so crazy.
Dude, getting to share a beer with Ernie at Hillstown's like bucket list item. It was unreal.
He ordered the ribs.
He did.
He ordered the
He
ribs.
loved the ribs.
Let's go back to around
How about
January.
Ernie falling down when we were practicing?
Oh, we told the story.
Bro, he looked like, I literally thought he was dead. And you know, like it was Thursday, right? So Thursday of Super Bowl week, the families were coming in. So his wife was coming in. And I remember I'm like, hey, Ernie had to go get stitches. Like he split his head open. I'm like, he's okay. You know, and it's like, she just gets off the plane. She's like, what? She's like, I'm like, yeah, he tripped, fell backwards, split his head open. It's all bandaged, doesn't look good, but he's all right. Probably got a concussion.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
probably.
sure, you know, but
He's
he
in
came
the
back
protocol.
He's in the protocol.
But he coached her.
There was nobody at the rest of practice that was going to go light because it was like, Ernie just got back out here. He split his head open. Like, I think we can finish our
He was
Thursday practice.
bleeding profusely. It
Literally
looked like
it
Carrie,
was
the
the
movie
Revolutionary
Carrie.
War.
There's blood everywhere. Ernie, and then 25 minutes later, we go through practice, and then you see Ernie coming out, stumbling out. He's got fucking looks like a mummy.
Look at that Turkish hair transplant.
Literally looked like the Revolutionary War.
just-
I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen right here.
Let's go back to around January 22nd, 2012. That's when the game took place, and we like to go and talk about what was going on
Yeah,
outside
see,
of football.
you can put whatever you want as far as what was going on in
Yeah.
the real world. I have no idea. Like you could like
Contraband?
Like
Mark Wahlberg.
listen, I like now currently my wife, she calls me like Encino Man. She's like, I'm like, I don't know how to use the dishwasher. Like I don't know how to do anything. Like
Yeah.
if it wasn't in that building, I'm out.
You don't listen to music while you're game planning by yourself in the
I mean,
facility
you know,
at
we
3:45?
actually all used to be in the room. We would listen to music.
What
you know,
music? What was on the list?
I mean, for us, it would be probably a lot of Pearl Jam.
Pearl
Nice.
Jam. Is it Bon Jovi like the show?
100%. I mean, we love
So
love
Bon
John.
so
John's the
Bill
best.
was out there. Bon Jovi.
I'm a big Buffett guy. So Jimmy Buffett, that's
R.I.P.
the last mango. Those
R.I.P.,
are my guys.
R.I.P.
Jimmy was great. We play a lot of comedy too, like just stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
Just because you needed something going. Now there was also a lot of comedy probably going on in the room.
Yeah.
You know, we would sit in the staff room late, you know, whether it was Boyer and Flo and
Who had
myself,
the
BD.
aux? Who had the aux cord? Who was putting the music on? Who had the playlist?
It probably changed. It would probably be the night, be like, Flo, let's get some music, or Boyer, let's get some music on, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
BD would come in, or a lot of times, it would be fun in the fall too. World Series, some sort of championship game.
Yeah.
So it'd be late night.
Octobers.
BD, because he was hardcore into baseball, he'd be out there basically crying or screaming based on whichever way the game was going, which was awesome. The late nights coaching, as much as it sucked, being away from your family, everything, it was fun.
Yeah.
Because you're just hanging, doing football.
Who's some of your favorite comedians?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's like classics for me. Obviously, you go back to like Robin Williams. I think Robin Williams at the Met. It was George Carlin at Carnegie Hall. Eddie Murphy when he had the red suit on.
Was that Delirious?
That was Delirious. Yeah. Yep, that was a classic one. I got really into Sebastian Maniscalco.
He's funny.
Okay,
With the hand movements and
but
the Italian love Italians.
But you know who the best guy that got me into all that stuff though?
Who?
You're gonna have to guess this. One of my favorite all-time people to be around.
Is he a coach?
No, he was a special teams linebacker.
Special teams, Dane Fletcher.
I love Dane Fletcher. I talked to him the other day.
Yeah.
Love Dane. Same time, Dane Fletcher and this guy.
Nico Kudavides.
Hey, the Lavancier.
So we had tradition in the defensive room. It was, so Pizza Friday.
Pizza
obviously, right?
Friday.
So Pizza Friday was a big thing. That was a big Dante thing when I was on offense. And Pizza Friday, the whole idea and why Ted struggled with this, right? And you remember Ted's first year. I'll tell the Ted story too. I love
Ted is the nutritionist.
Ted he came in, right? So that was our fourth, right? So Joanne was first. Then we had a guy that was there for like a cup of coffee. And then Joel took over for him. And then Ted, right?
And then Ted.
So, but we always had Pizza Friday. And the idea with Pizza Friday was this. It wasn't about the pizza. It was about the mentality, right? So when you were in school and you went to school, you had pizza on Friday.
Yeah.
Right? Well, okay, Friday's going to be a good day. Because you went in, it was the only meal
Pizza
that was actually.
party, you're always excited.
It's the only good meal, school meal that you actually buy and eat because it's Pizza Friday. But the idea for us was, and again, this is back in the day before it got crazy. Like it got crazy in New England, but literally because I had to do the practice schedules. So I remember people were amazed. I figured out how to paste, like it was Domino's and KFC. Like that's what we had. It was Domino's and KFC. And I pasted them on the practice schedules. I'd be like, oh, it's Pizza Friday, thank God. But it was, all right, the work week we're coming to the end.
Yeah.
It's all positive. Let's not be yelling and screaming today.
Yeah.
Let's go out, have a good practice.
Good mental day.
Let's feel
Let's
good.
be able to sleep
Let's
on
have
Saturday.
a good mental day. Like it's Pizza Friday. Everybody be good. Now, Scar, if you remember, he'd be like, don't ruin Pizza Friday. Because Scar had the other side. That could come out real quick. And he'd be like, don't ruin Pizza Friday. I'm not yelling today. Don't get me. So in the defensive side of the ball, not only Pizza Friday, but we used to have videos on Fridays.
Funny videos.
So it originally started out as like highlights. We started off with like high school highlights. It'd be good because you had some legit dudes that had legit high school film. And then you'd have like, whatever, Rob Ryan's highlight of his highlight, whatever, So funny stuff. But then it turned into like, okay, hey, we need some comedy. And it was always usually the QC's job to get a tape.
Quality
control, young coach. And it better be funny. Because these guys, we've been yelling and screaming all week. We need something funny before we go on the field.
Yeah.
And Vince was the best because Vince wouldn't leave. I love Vince, right? So Vince wouldn't leave until we showed the video. Even though Scotty O had a meeting coming in, Vince was like, it didn't matter. And I'm like, Vince wasn't leaving.
No.
That next meeting wasn't starting.
No.
So, and he wanted something funny. Well, Nico Kudavides finally comes in, and Nico is one of the funniest, best, great heart human being.
What did they call it? Who is the? What do they call it in the Italian world? Lavancier or something?
No. Consigliere.
Consigliere.
Yeah. Okay, killing me right now.
Yeah.
So
You always call him Lavancier, though.
Yeah, I call him that.
So Nico would bring in the videos, and he like.
He take time.
This was like the one. Like I don't think he knew any of the defensive assignments, but he nailed Friday. We would be laughing.
Got to
so
curate,
hard.
baby.
He had me dying.
He loves because that's kind of Nico's humor too.
Well, because Chicago Italian and all that stuff. Nico was great.
But in the sports world of 2011 and 2012, as a sports guy, you probably know that the Giants won the Super Bowl. That was a bad one.
That one stunk.
Rodgers won MVP.
I'll tell you what, though. You know what that Giants Super Bowl taught everybody? If you were paying close attention? Situational football. What situation did I have to execute in that game to give us a chance? This was tough now.
Was it the
Horrible
Rolex?
situation. Rolex.
Rolex.
Yeah, Rolex. Nice job. Nice
Come
job.
on, Bubs.
So, you know what happened with that? So at the end of the Super Bowl, what happens is, you know, you got the coach to
Time
player
is
and all
more
that stuff.
important than points.
Time is more important than points. Exactly. So within the 2 minutes or within 3 minutes at the end of the Super Bowl, all of the sideline media turns on, all the cameras, all the stuff. So everything turns on. The headsets went down, and there was no stopping at that point. And I just remember, you know, Mayo and those guys on the field. They're going in, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is Rolex, and I just hit him with the it was like hit him with the signal. There's no time to talk about it. I'm not talking through the helmet. It was like the one signal, and everybody knew what to do. It's a horrible game, but I'm reaching for anything positive there.
It's all right.
Yes,
We got it. We made up for it. NC2A champion Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah, that's easy because really, I think there was a stretch in there where we just rotated every other year.
Every other year.
They won or we won, and it was back and forth. I mean,
Is
we
this
used to,
the first
we
one
used
of
to talk
that?
to Nick.
Of Nick?
This was the second at Bama.
Second.
Yeah.
You know Coach Saban at all?
Yeah.
How's he?
He's great.
I've never got to really meet him. And
he's actually great, and him and Bill together are great. Nick's really, he's been really good to me. Like I was the keynote speaker at their clinic one year.
Yeah.
When you know, I was coaching in Detroit, had a couple of coaches. He would call and we'd ask about guys. He always, you know, Nick was amazing. You know, getting ready for the draft is obviously hard, right? So we're calling college coaches. We're obviously there. We'd go there and spend a lot of time there. And you know, you could call him like day of the draft, day before the draft, and be like, "Hey, all right, Nick, real quick, what do you think?" And he would, whatever he was doing, he would tell you. He was really awesome. The funniest thing about Alabama was, it was more like Will, you know, Muschamp and like Kirby, who were the defensive coordinators there. And I was the defensive coordinator, obviously, at New England. And like all of a sudden, like Bill and Nick would get together and they'd have a conversation. And all of a sudden, like Kirby'd call me and be like, "All right, listen, what is this defense you're running? Because like our two head guys got together and he's trying to explain like you know," or Bill would be like, "Hey, call Will, call Kirby. They've got this, you know, sonic boom, whatever."
Yeah.
He's like, "We got to put that on." I'm like, "Could you just stop talking to," because it was more work for us, you know. But so we the three of us kind of laugh all the time about that because, you know, it's just that's all part of the tree. You know, we're all in that tree.
I'm such a Nick Saban fan. I don't know him. I think we've
You would
rubbed
love him.
elbows.
You would love him.
Just because of I think he was at one of our practices or
Yeah,
something.
he came all the time. Yeah.
He went to Kent State.
Yep.
Played at Kent State, and I don't know, but I've heard through their grapevine. I could be completely wrong, but I heard he's our biggest booster. He gives our school the most money.
I wouldn't doubt that.
You know, that's fucking cool. He's
Nick
still,
has a huge heart.
yeah,
Huge heart.
coach. So I'm an Alabama
wife
fan.
is
That's
great.
why I always root for
Yeah.
Alabama. Well, not
Yeah.
anymore, but I was always a Saban fan. He's Golden Flash.
You know Mondays are always rough, but the Monday after the big game, that's a whole nother level. I remember one year, I got stranded at the airport after a big game weekend, flights delayed, no friends, just sitting there, nothing but bad coffee. Instead of losing it, I chose to chill. I got some wings, watched some highlights, and cracked a Coors Light, and suddenly that delay didn't seem so bad. And that's why I love Coors Light. Coors Light is my go-to for those chill moments. Speaking of chill, Coors Light is flipping the worst Monday of the year, the one after the big game, into something actually worth looking forward to. They've got these limited time Mondays Light 12 packs with bold new packaging, turning a case of the Mondays into a literal case of beer. You can find them at retailers nationwide and bring some chill to the day we all dread. So choose chill this winter and reach for a Coors Light. Get Coors delivered straight to your door at CoorsLight.com/GWN, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado beer.
Jackie, let's break down this game. Let's start with the New England Patriots and set the stage, Bubs.
All right, let's start with these Pats. 13-3. This is, of course, head coach Bill Belichick. Billy O running the offense. Matty P was the primary defensive play caller this year.
Love that title. That's great. It's great, Bill. Been the defensive coordinator since 2010.
Primary defense caller.
I was a defensive coordinator. I was the lowest paid outside linebacker coach or whatever it was in my contract. It was like ridiculous.
Did you ask him on the 3-hour car ride why that was always the case?
I mean, I know why. I know why we did it. As a young coordinator, Josh, when he came over to offense, so I was on offense, right? Charlie leaves. He goes to Notre Dame. Josh on offense. He's calling the plays. You know, myself on defense, 2010, when I started running the defense. Bill O'Brien.
Billy O.
When he started running the offense. So the thing was, as young coordinators in the league, honestly, Bill was just trying to protect us. he was trying to protect us as play callers to allow us to learn how to be a play caller, learn how to run those meetings, run the defense, run the offense without having the direct, even though we did, scrutiny of everybody else. It actually really.
I've always wondered that.
Yeah. So what happened was, so my first year as a play caller. So again, Boyer was with me the whole run, and then 2010, I coached linebackers. I was a coordinated the defense, called the defense. Pat Graham was my.
Well, that was right after Dean Pease left, went to
Dean
the
left in
Ravens.
09, went to
Blitz
the
zero,
Ravens.
blitz zero.
Dean,
Blitz
so
zero.
I coached with Dean.
Fuck that Blitz Zero, Dean P.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was the linebackers coach, the coordinator, and Pat Graham was my QC.
Yeah.
So
Defensive coordinator for the Raiders right now.
Yep. So after 1 year, I said to Bill, because look, it was all about the way Josh and Brian and I were raised in the system was, Romeo was the defensive coordinator, Charlie was the offensive coordinator, and we were raised to develop our own. That's been the philosophy at New England, and that is what he wanted to do when he got there. And that was Charlie and Rack and the offensive coaches or the defensive coaches. They taught us how to be coaches. So you QC'd, you were a young coach, and then you became a coach, and that allowed Bill to coach the team. So the philosophy was, look, the coaches coach the players, the coordinators coach the coaches, and the head coach coaches the team. That's everybody. So that's how it worked. And so again, we were trying to raise our own. So after a year, 2010, past the QC, Flo, who I knew was great coach, going to be a great coach, and he was in special teams. And Flo, again, when I got there, Flo was on, he had gotten there too. He was in the scouting department, and then he came over. So I wanted Flo on defense. So I said, Bill, listen, let's move Josh, Boyer, he was going to coach corners. So let him coach corners. I'll coach the safeties. Let's make Pat the linebackers coach, and let's get Flo over here as the QC. So that was like the plan for that year. And it was good for me to get in the back end again. And that's, really what Bill did too. Bill did the similar thing in his coaching career. When he was coming up, he had hired a guy that was linebacker guy. So he moved from linebackers to safeties and coached the back end. So all of that was part of our training.
Why is the back end so cool?
Well, just because you got to learn all the coverages, right? And get all that married. And when you coach the linebackers, obviously you're coaching all of it. You got to coach the runs, the run fits, the coverage, all that stuff. But then to get into the intricacies of the coverage stuff and be able to develop those guys. And we were, again, this was a transitional time for us defensively. My old heads had all retired or moved on.
The Adelius Thomas era was gone. This was the start of the new.
I would say the era that was gone.
After this was like the start of the real new.
I would say the area that was gone was more of like the Brewskis, the Vrabels, the McGinnises, and all those guys.
But
like
there
those
was
are
like
my
that
old heads.
tween stage
But
where
the tween
they were
stage
gone.
was more like Mayo was our holdover.
Yeah.
So I drafted him in. That was 8.
Yeah.
Told him sit in the room, be quiet, just learn. Which he was amazing. He was rookie defensive player of the year. And so Mayo found Ninkovich. He was the holdover. Yeah. And then the rest of it was, we were piecemeal in those, Pierre Woods, Eric Alexander, who I heard from the other day, which was great. So cool. So cool. All those guys. So this was the point where, I was starting to rebuild the secondary. Drafted Devin, had Pat. There were all the young guys that we were bringing in to try to get them rolling. So I moved to safeties for the year. The next year, again, Flo was the QC. I said to Bill, look, I'll just coordinate the defense. So I don't care whatever title you want to give me. I didn't care about titles.
Yeah.
I'll coordinate the defense, but let's move Flo to safeties. Let's start his progression, and and then we'll get the next QC. So it was always, that was the idea, was I was always trying to, I'll move positions. I don't care. What I'm doing isn't going to change, but how do we keep moving the young guys up? Yeah. And that's what we did defensively. And then eventually I got Stevie B, and then Stevie, he was my QC, and then, Mike and Brian, and kind of just rolled through. I got BD, who came in finally and was coaching the D-line and stuff. So
what did BD fucking have a great little thing going?
Oh, yeah.
He won 3 Super Bowls with us. Now he's with the Chiefs, won all those 3.
Yeah.
Well, this fucking guy. So keep going on the team, Jackie.
Yeah, just to further contextualize this season, we're coming off the can't wait game, the upset in the divisional round. In 2010, Brady's coming off an MVP season the season before. This season was dedicated to Mrs. Kraft, of course, the patches on the jerseys. Yep. Uncharacteristically lost back-to-back out of the bye week, and then rattled off 8 straight to finish regular season.
Yeah.
Wow, who did we lose to there?
It was the Giants and the Steelers.
Oh, I remember that. I
Which
didn't
was,
dress for
Steelers was always like the Ravens.
Yeah.
Like those were the tough physical. These games were like, this was
They
like
were.
old school football.
They did what they did, though. You knew exactly what they were doing
did
every
what they
time.
did.
And they still do what they do. They still do the same goddamn shit that when I was playing Tomlin's defense.
Steeler football.
I'm like, what the? We still have linebackers covering the 3 slot?
Yeah.
Every time we play the Steelers, I have at least 9 catches.
Coach,
You
how do
would
you
think that they would change it.
They're right.
No, but they do what they do.
They got 6 Super Bowls.
Coach, like, how do you get away with it for that long? Like, just doing what you do and being
Yeah,
that, like,
believe
steadfast.
in the they believe in the
believe in that, but
philosophy
they
of
also-
how they play the game.
And they coach it up well.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
They're
well
on it.
coached.
Yep. They don't make a lot of mistakes.
they
And
don't
again,
make-
what do we? Because I heard you say this. Heard you again. I'm doing my research. Right. More games in the NFL or what?
They're lost than won.
So if they don't make mistakes, they don't lose a lot of games.
They don't.
They
And
let
they
the
still don't.
opponents lose them, and then we beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sorry, had to.
And some notable rookies on this team. We got Vereen, Ridley, Solder, Marcus Cannon. Josh was brought back for the playoff run to come in. Josh McDaniels, that is. Come in and do a little offensive work.
Well, that's a big draft.
That's a big draft.
Yeah. Is that Benny? Benny? Is that?
Benny, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis.
I have a great Benny.
We love
What do you
the
got
law
on
firm.
Benny? The law firm. What do you got?
The law firm. It's a story that involves Junior Seau.
Oh,
happened?
my gosh.
So we're getting beat up at linebacker. We have some injuries. And Bill says to me, hey, where's Junior? Because he wasn't, he was played for us, but I was like, I don't know. He's like, give him a call, find out. I was like, all right. So hey, June. I go, where are you? He's like, Fiji. I was like, the island? He's like, yeah, I'm surfing. I was like, okay, well, Bill wants to bring you in. Like, we're, kind of beat up. Like, are you ready to go or what? He's like, yeah, I'm ready. I was like, all right, well, how fast can you get here? He's like, I don't know. I'll get there as soon as I can. I was like, great. So I go back to Bill and I was like, hey, Junior's in Fiji surfing. I was like, Fiji's like
That's far.
far. And he's like, well, when can he get here? I'm like, he's trying to get here as soon as he can. We're playing Seattle, in Seattle. So I was like, well, I'm like, he can get back to the West Coast. I'm like, hey, just meet us in Seattle. He's like, no, he's got to come back. He's got to take a physical before he's on the country. I'm like, we're going to fly him all the way. He's like, yeah, he's got to fly all the way here. I was like, oh my God. So I called you and I was like, hey, bro, you got to fly all the way to Boston. Like, you got to get. So I think he was getting into Boston on like Thursday. Like, I called him on Monday. I was like, you got to fly. And then we're going to get on a plane. We're going to fly all the way back to Seattle. Like, this is going to be awesome. So Junebug's great, right? So Junior flies in, does physical. And Junior's like unbelievable human specimen.
Yeah.
Like, he's always in shape. Doesn't matter. Like, So he's great. Pass physical, get on plane, fly Seattle. He's like, buddy, what's the plan? And I'm like, well, you're not playing. But, we want you to get on team. You play next week, get you in shape, make sure you're ready to go, all that stuff. He's like, all right. I'm like, you're actually probably going to be active for the game because everybody's hurt. I'm like, but I'm not playing you. He's like, okay, all right, no problem. So we get into the game. I think it was, I have to ask Brew on this one. So I think it was Gary Guyton, right?
Gary Guyton.
So Gary's another one of my linebackers that, I kind of had Georgia Tech, right?
Quick fact, Gary Guyton set up Slater with his wife.
Shout out Gary.
Nice. Gary's
Matchmaker.
great. Gary's great.
Matchmaker.
So Gary and Gerard were like, that was Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
That's what they were for me, right? So Gary, I think, takes out Brew. We're in the game. Like, hits him, like, so now Brewski's down.
Friendly fire.
Yeah, friendly fire. So
Friendly
now Teddy's
fire.
down. So Teddy's out of the game. So I'm like, Junior, you got to go in. He's like, what? I'm like, we're out of bodies. I'm like, you got to go. So put Junior out there. It's right before the half. Throws like a little route. Now, Deion Branch is on Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, Deion obviously played for us. I love Deion, but so now he's in Seattle. So Deion catches like a check down. He goes for like 60-some yards. We missed tackle. We have like 11 missed tackles on the play. I think everyone missed him like 7 times. Junior missed him like 5. Like, Junior misses him so bad, and when he goes blowing by me. I grabbed him. I literally throw him back. I'm like, go get him. He still runs. So I throw him back in there. He takes off. All right, so game's over. We're staying in California. It was back-to-back games. So we get in the meeting on Monday or whatever, and we're getting ready to go, or Wednesday. And Bill's like, he goes, we were done practicing pads at this point because, it was late in the season. He goes, look, Junior, he missed Deion like 4 times. He's like, he's got to practice his tackling. I was like, okay. He's like, tell him to bring his pads to practice. I was like, what? He's like, tell him to get his pads, get his equipment, get out there for post-practice. I was like, sweet. So I'm like, hey, Junior, bring your pads to practice. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, you had some missed tackles. I'm like, it wasn't good on tape. I'm like, Bill wants to do some tackling after practice. He goes, does he realize I'm like the NFL's all-time leading tackler? And I was like, yeah, well, you'd have one more if you just tackled him before the half. So I'm like, get your pads on. Let's go. We got to go. So he's like, he gets his pads. And so I'm like, practice rookie. I'm like, hey, Benny, I need your help post-practice. He's like, yeah, coach, whatever you need. Ben, I love Ben.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do one-on-one tackling you and Junior Seau, like post-practice. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's going to be great. So they're like 10 yards apart, whistle. And, Bill's over there and throwing. So whistle goes, and Junior's like, bow, just drills him. And I was like, ooh. And I'm like looking at Benny. Benny gets up. Junior looks at me. He's like, we going again? And I'm looking at Bill. I was like, it was like, pow, pow. And now Junior's now like, is that enough? You guys good? Have you seen that? And Benny's like, helmet, I'm pretty sure, is sideways. Like, it's just one-on-one, like, blood sport at this point. I'm like, what? I'm looking, are we done here?
This is post-practice.
It's post-practice.
This is post-practice on the road.
Dude, surfing like a week earlier. I'm like, are we done here yet or what? So, yeah, so we did one-on-one tackling Benny. That's Benny. He took him all.
He's a team guy.
Hey, that's a team guy right there.
And he didn't fumble.
Never.
When we were doing the research for this game, to this point in his career, he never fumbled in high school, college, or pros.
Mr. Ball Security.
Ball security.
Security is job security. There's nothing more important than the ball. The other one that you say is like, when you carry the ball,
you carry
the fate of the entire organization in your hands.
He said, not just organization, the fucking region. This is a big region.
Then he said, say less. I got you.
Benny says, say less.
And since we got Matty P here and we're talking about this team, we got to give a little shine to some of these defensive guys. Andre Carter, into the season injured, but had 10 sacks.
Yeah.
Minko, 6.5 sacks.
Andre was great.
Andre Carter played my brother in championship at CCS in high school.
Really?
Yeah, I remember going and seeing them at San Jose State. My brother played for St. Francis, and he went to Oak Grove, and my brother's team beat him. My brother's team in high school, St. Francis, was like, they won like CCS 8 years in a row. They were fucking legit.
You said one thing about Andre Carter that you remember. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Big hands.
Vice grips.
Huge
so you shake his hand, you're literally risking breaking a finger.
His hands
it was like
wrap around your forearm.
I was like, I don't really want to shake your hand.
Like kung fu grip.
Old Kung Fu Carter.
G-Money, Vince, Kyle Love. Kyle Love's a great story. So Kyle, do you know where I found Kyle Love? This is how I found Kyle Love. So I have to go to University of Florida 2 years before this. And I do a huge, Bill sends me down. And I do a huge workout because that team was loaded.
Yeah, we had half the team.
We had half the team. But the game that we watched
Cunningham, Spikes,
the game we watched was
Honey.
It was Florida versus Alabama. There was more NFL football players in that one game than you could watch in 20 other schools getting ready for the draft. So I go to Florida. I do a 3-hour workout with all the offensive guys. We're in the swamp. And then I took a break, and then I did another 3-hour workout with all the defensive guys. So I literally worked out like 15, 18 dudes that were coming out. And so I'm meeting with the Pounceys in the meeting. We're going through protection. I said, all right, who's the hardest guy you had to block this year? And they're like, Kyle Love. And I'm like, I don't even have Kyle. Like, I don't even have him on my notes.
Yeah.
Who is Kyle Love? And so that's how we found out about Kyle Love.
Wow, through the Pouncey Bros.
Shout out to the Pouncey Bros.
Told us that was one of the hardest guys they had to block that year, and that's why we got him.
They would know those guys were bad motherfuckers.
That's how it worked with a lot of players. Like, I mean, we'll get to your story, but like, I mean, the Ohio State game. You don't think we all watched that 100 times? You played them tough.
I was hurt. I had a torn PCL.
Exactly. That's why we watched it. What kind of guys we're looking for?
Yeah.
Tough guys.
Can you speak a little bit about the recruiting process or the scouting process of Julian?
We would pick really late in the draft. Luckily, very fortunate, very blessed. But really, when you get to the end of the first round, like you're really talking about second rounders, and it just as it goes down the draft, it's like that. So we would always try to find, and still all through the years, who are the guys that we dig out that we can find that are going to make our team because they have the traits we're looking for. That might not be on everybody's radar because that's when we're going to have to try to get them. We're going to have to try to find tough guys that we think can fill a role, can play, make the team, or what do we see their projection? What do we see them developing into from that standpoint? And that was Julian through and through. Tough as nails. Just, you went in the category of just a ball player. Like Scar would say. Ball playing Jesse.
Ball playing Jesse.
Yeah, that would be Julian. So it was like, what exactly is he going to play quarterback for us? Probably not. But Can we find a way? Right.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
So
So
taking the ball out of that
can
guy's
we-
hands.
Exactly. So, but can we find a way for him to get on the field? Yeah, he's going to be tough. He's going to be reliable. He's going to be available. And we were always looking for special teams. You know, who are the guys that could help us be dynamic? And I think you came in, did all those things. You mentally worked through some catch things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that was real.
Yeah.
And got to the point where you became sure-handed.
Yeah.
You became trusted. You learned the game the way that I don't want to say wanted you to, but the way that we played. You know, you were smart.
Mm-hmm.
And we just love those guys. Like, those are our guys. Like, those are our type of guys. So we would watch the Ohio State game. We were injured, but you were tough. You were out there.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you had some games where you were lighting it up.
Iowa State,
Iowa
Kentucky.
State. Yep. But those games, like, okay.
But those were
to
big
play-
schools for our school.
It was, but Ohio State,
Yeah.
we're looking at those guys saying, well, you know, this guy's fighting his ass off against this team. Like, okay, well, if you're on the other side of it, everyone's saying, well, yeah, of course he's an NFL
Yeah.
guy. Well, why is that not an NFL guy? Like, you're seeing it against competition you want to see.
Now, how did it, when we're hiring guys off the street, middle of the season for DBs, because we were banged
Okay, here we go. Yep.
up, who the fuck
Oh, my God.
asked, who brought up to put me on
Yeah,
DB?
that was-
I remember Josh Boyer.
Yeah, I told Boyer, go get him. Go get him and bring him in.
Boyer literally came
Yeah,
up to
go-
me
go get
in
him.
the fucking locker room
Yeah.
and said, yo, you're on a Wednesday.
Yeah, go get him.
Wasn't even on a Tuesday.
No.
He's like, hey, go
This
get
was a
Jules.
long conversation on Tuesday, but it wasn't because one of the reasons I love this game, Myra,
Yeah.
honoring her this year, playing, you know, Baltimore the way we won or they lost, however you want
Yeah.
to look at it, because I think Myra pushed the ball.
Yeah,
I think she pushed it out of the goalpost because that guy was really good.
really good.
But it was, I told you, my infatuation of like when I got to New England, I thought that, you know, I'm at Syracuse, Division I, Coach Pasquale's a great football coach. But just the way that we looked at the game at New England, and I remember Troy Brown played, you know, the star for us. He played, you know, he was
got
one of our
picks.
best. He got a pick against Drew. It was like first completion of the game was to Troy. It was like we got confused. But it was like that whole what I saw us do in 2004, I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
And then so as I'm taking over the defense, I would always look at the offensive guys going, okay, we get late because I knew you're going to be at the game.
Yeah.
You know, because you're always like, who's going to be at the game? That's what I need.
Yeah.
You know, because once you get through those first set
Roster.
of guys, roster management. So I was always looking at the offensive
You only
guys.
get 40, what do you get, 48 on game day?
Yeah, it was 47.
47?
47 on game day, 53 on the roster. And I was always looking at the offensive guys again and saying, who could play defense?
Yeah.
Not a lot of offensive guys that can play defense. But once you were kind of on the team, all of that stuff that you went through, I was like, that's the guy that can do it. So I always had in my head, I was like, at some point, he's going to play DB for us.
Which is so crazy for two reasons. I remember when I was getting worked out, Pittsburgh worked me out as a safety in a corner when I was coming out of Kent. And then the second thing, when you told me about the Troy Brown stuff, and like you said, oh, I finally got someone that I could do this with. When I first got drafted to New England,
Yeah.
my agent, Don Yee,
Yeah, Don.
Don goes to me and he goes, I have a vision. You're the next Troy Brown. I just, the team's going to, it's going to be hard for them to cut you because you're going to, because that was the thing going into this. They had 7 receivers my rookie year.
Yeah.
8 receivers. They traded for a guy. They had Randy Moss West. One of the guys was a special teams captain, Sam Aiken. So like the roster spot was like hard. You can't get that spot. But my agent was just always say it's going to be hard for them to cut you because you could do a lot.
You can do a lot. You were
And
a ball playing Jesse.
it's crazy you said that. Fucking Don's a smart dude.
But yeah, it was, and Josh, you know, Josh Boyer, he was great at all that stuff
Yeah.
too. So Josh was like, and I think he was in that same mentality. Josh was, and he saw the same thing. So, you know, it was, Jules was going to play defense. We were going to go through it. You know, I remember Troy saying, I was like, long time ago, I was like, Troy, how did you, he's like, well, I know most of the routes.
Yeah.
He's like, I run all these routes.
Yeah.
So I know everything inside.
Conceptually.
Yeah. So
And
you
situationally, that's what I
and
would
then
do.
situationally, so you knew the same, and then situationally, you knew what we wanted to do defensively, and I knew you'd learn it in a very short amount of time.
So, because I remember what I would do, Bill and you guys would always say, well, Bill, I would listen in the team meeting.
Yep.
And Bill would always say, gotta have it situations the third downs, the 4-point plays.
Yeah.
They throw gotta have it routes to gotta have it players.
Yeah, go to guys.
So if you fucking study the gotta have it route
give you the list
on that straight third down,
Yep.
and then you study the gotta have it player, like all I would do is just hold on for dear life for the first 5 yards because I knew guys hated it, and then just play to your leverage. But in this fucking game, which I want to get into, didn't we go over lock and combo all fucking week?
We did. And
Do you not see me making the fucking call and squaring it off?
I did.
And I'm not calling no one out, but you got.
We don't call anybody out.
What are we doing? Maybe, and then they're calling me out on the TV. I remember watching that when I was so proud. It was AFC Championship. They're like, "Oh, we got dumbass Edelman in there."
I obviously did not do a good enough job of coaching that. That's all.
But I called it.
You did.
I called it to him because the point was set. So what we're talking about is, and we'll get into it in the game, on a specific third down, Anquan Bolden, that late in the game, he motions it. They have a bunch, and what our game plan for that week was, we were gonna lock the point of the bunch, and you combo the other two guys, which means if this guy on the outside goes inside, I got whoever goes inside.
Yeah.
The other guy has whoever goes outside.
Yeah.
The other guy, when it goes in, it was an instant check to the bunch. If it was a check, so you see me square it off, because I want square, so the guy runs into me, so I could get a bump.
I'm gonna pull out the game plan. I'm gonna pull out the game plan.
Yeah, well, I always love you. Yeah, and then the other guy came over, and we fucking look like the Keystone Cops out here.
Yeah.
And the guy runs free. We almost lose the game because of it.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here thinking the whole damn time, fucking, I lost the goddamn Super Bowl for us.
So do you know, like in this game, so up into this game, I think I had 15 straight defensive 3-and-out series.
Yeah.
So I think the first 2 series of this game, they went 3-and-out, maybe the third 3 series of 3-and-out.
First 3.
So I think it was a total of 15 straight. We were playing some good ball.
Yeah. We
So
were
on
playing
third
really,
down,
and that's with
when you give up
two
a lock combo,
offensive guys on defense.
Yeah.
So Matthew Slater was playing safety
I
too.
put him. I was like, Slate, listen, I need you in the middle of the field, bro. Like, just go. Like, I
cut you off good.
This in the back end, and this was intense.
Yeah.
Trying to put this crew together.
It was very intense.
Can I tell you my favorite part of this game, though?
Yes.
This is great. So, I put the call in, whatever. Jules is out there. And Anquan Bolden, do you remember him yelling at Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
Flacco! It's fucking Julian Edelman. Throw me the goddamn ball.
Yeah.
He was so mad.
So mad.
So mad. I laugh with him about that all the time.
Hey.
He's like, throw me the ball.
He got me one time, but I was
there.
See, my strategy was I wasn't going to cover you.
No.
I wasn't going to glove you up, but I was going to be around to tackle you, and it'd be a contested style type catch, and I was going to grab you and fucking try to cheat as far as I could and hit you. Yeah. How would you sum up this team in just the 2011 team?
I mean, gritty team. Tough. Obviously the next man up mentality. So, but it was really just, I think everyone capitalizing on their opportunities and just believing.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's why I love this game this year with Myra. Like, we were really trying to do everything we could to honor her,
without a
her
doubt,
memory. And I think that every week we knew, like, hey, like, let's just everybody give their best and go out there. And we had a good bunch of young guys that we knew were going to be great players, on the team. So it was fun to watch them develop. And then some guys that had been there for a little while. And this was just a tough, gritty, willing themselves almost to win. There's so many guys on this team, and people are like, who's that? Oh, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that guy was there. I didn't realize that guy was there. And it was like, we went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We went to the Super Bowl. So, like, you want to, like, anybody can go to the Super Bowl.
We could have won that Super Bowl. But now, you said 15 straight 3-and-outs.
I think it was 15 straight, something like that.
What's the art of the DC? How do you, what's your starting point of when you're preparing for a team? Are you looking at players, plays, or is it changed situationally for each team? Like, how do you construct what you're going to plan for that week? Because you're a game plan coach. It changes every week. How do you break that in? What's the art of DC?
Yeah. It was interesting. So being in New England, obviously our fundamental background defensive philosophy, right, comes from the Giants, right? 1980s, Bill at the Giants, those great defenses there. And then you got to really understand. So I had 2 playbooks, right? We had our playbook, and then I had the Bible, right? I called it the Bible because that was everything. Like that I was always keeping track of the history of where did all this stuff come from, because I figured if you could understand where it came from, then we would know when to install it or when to use it. So
Who made the Bible?
So I did, just copy,
All right, just make
put
sure.
together. Football
So
Bible.
does that make you a prophet?
Definitely. I mean,
Bill
I am.
Jesus?
I am. I mean, I was named. I am Matthew. Right? So okay,
He's one of the prophets.
get out of here. So yeah. So 80s, right? And then you have the influence of our defense from Saban when Bill and Nick get together at Cleveland, and how it morphs from cover 2 to cover 3, little bit of cover 5, which was our 2-man, Nick with cover 1, cover 4. And then, so as we get to New England,
Nick loves man.
loves it, right? Yeah. So as we get to New England, Romeo Rack is there early, what that was, Mangini, and then Dean takes over and we go all into cover 4, which was, that was his baby, and that was great for all those years too. When Dean left, Bill wanted to get back to some more traditional stuff. The game was changing at this point, right around this timeline. And I really think offensively, Bill had a great vision of where the game should go. And it was getting away from the 11s into the mixed 12s, personnel groups. But at this time, defensively, we had gone back to a lot of base, cover 2, cover 3. We had young players playing zone, because with zone, you got more chances for turnovers. You can see the quarterback. You can see the throws. We're always good tacklers, right? Good tackling defense. And so we had young guys. So that's what we were in this era. We had our mans for situational football, because you got to play man in situational football, red area, things like that. And then really as our team developed, when we get into other games, when we get Aqib Talib, everything defensively changed. Everything changed. Aqib's like one of my favorites ever, right?
Always, yeah.
Walks in, he's like, Matty P, he's like, I got him, you figure out the rest of it. I'm like, cool. Like, it was like, so we changed, we morphed. We would always morph the defense based on the talent we had, right? At this time, we're also coming out of, this is actually the last year of a lot of base defense. So the next year after this, because of our 12 packages, I went into big nickel. That's where Pat Chung really comes into. This is where Pat Chung saves us for a lot of years. No, he does not get enough credit for the evolution of what we went to and where we were for all those years after defensively. Devin also gets moved from corner and moved him to safety, after this, because of where we were. Dev's like rookie of the year.
And why do you do that?
Why do we change the defense?
Because you're 12 personnel, and so there's a lot of 12 personnel, which means there's 2 tight ends, but teams are still spreading people out. So
correct.
The safety has to cover the tight end, who's a better route runner these days. So Patrick Chung, being the physical type player that could play decent against bigger, or very good against bigger guys,
really good, strong,
very physical,
great run instincts.
So that's why Patrick Chung was so good, because he was a covering safety.
He was.
He wasn't a big safety, which now all the safeties look like Patrick Chung. But at this time, this is when safeties were fucking huge.
Yeah. Still big, still coming down.
That's what I'm just giving context to Matty P.
Love the history. So defensively, our mentality in general was, how do we fit the defensive structure to the, so again, like people are all like, oh, you're a base cover 2 coach. And I'm like, well, I was when we needed to be, but like you saw our playbook, like we had every coverage known to man in that thing. And then some we made up. So, or fronts and variations. So with that mentality, the defense, that was just our mentality every week. What do we have to do? What do we have to play in order to win this game? Because that's all that really mattered. It was like, it doesn't matter what we do. How do we just win this game? Complementary football with the offense, with special teams, with defense, and who are the players we have to do that? And so it was always evolving, always changing. But when you game plan an offense, for me, started with the quarterback. How are we going to make this guy, how are we going to play the game within the game against this guy? Yeah. And then I went to the offensive line. You obviously identify who are the great players, who are the go-to guys you got to stop, who's the ball going to in what situations, make sure you got those guys handled, make sure you got them covered. But game planning affecting the quarterback was through the offensive line. How do we get pressure in his face? Is he going to step up? Is he going to bail? Is he going to move? Do we need to keep him in the pocket? Do we want him out of the pocket? Is he a scrambler? Does he extend? All of those, you got to answer all of those questions, as you go through the game plan process. And then, you got run game, you got all of that in there. What packages you're going to play? How are you going to call the game? So a lot of games I would have, I had different call sheets. So I had our main call sheet that everybody had, and then I would have adjustment call sheets, and I'd either have them, or people ask me all the time. So I always had a notebook in, always wore a hoodie, always had pockets.
And number 2 pencil. You got one?
Yeah. There we go. Yep. Good Ticonderoga
Ticonderoga
right there. Yeah,
deal.
of course. Right. But I always
Only
had,
engineer shit here,
but I
bros.
always had notebooks with paper, and I would rewrite different scripts, different series coming up. Like we'd come to the side and be like, hey, Jules, next third down call is going to be this. Next first down is going to be called. Be ready to go in on second down and long. Second and short, we're going to stay base. And I would write all of those out so that everybody had that during the game.
That was money.
Dime.
That was money. Or dime.
Dime. Yep.
Early, and then I went to nickel.
Then you went to nickel. But yeah, so that's how we game planned. And, going in this game, they had good skill. They had, good running back, obviously. A quarterback that was going to sit in the pocket. So it was like, how do we disrupt the timing of the game? We're able to generate some Andre and Mark. We're able, Vince pushed the pocket. It was Vince Wilfork, man.
Hall of Famer.
He's easily.
Now, does Bill come in to staff meeting? All right, boys, this is how we have to win this. Because he's going to give you the keys on what he thinks the whole collective teams, special teams, defense, and offense has to do. So he pulls in, all right, guys, this is what we got to do, this. And then he pulls you aside, you guys break, and you guys go install what you're going to do for that week or develop what you're going to do for that game plan week. Now, does he ever sometimes come in there like, Matty P, we're going to score a lot of points on these guys. Like, this is what we need you to do. So, like, that's what a good head coach, is that what he's doing as well?
So we certainly would have, as we got ready for game plans, we would meet, Josh would meet with Bill, I'd meet with Bill, and we'd talk about like, hey, what are you thinking? How do you want to play this game? What do you think on the other side of the ball? We'd do that kind of individually. We talk, personnel was always the biggest thing. Who do we got?
Yeah.
It was always us first. Like, who do we have? Who are the best 11 guys we can put on the field to help us win this week against, and who do they got? It was all, to me, the NFL, coming from college, the NFL was so much more the NBA than it was college football. It was the matchups. It was who's this guy? Where's this guy? How do you play the game, against the players on the other side of the field, and who do you have? So we would talk about the big picture. We would put the game plans together. I'd certainly go in and talk to them like, hey, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? You'd be like, yeah, this is great. This is good. Hey, take a look at this. Maybe try something here too. So he'd always have his say as far as things that he liked. And then what we would do, which I loved these meetings. They were super long. All of our meetings were super long.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. So, but it would be the night before the game, and we would have a coordinators meeting. And we would, and Ernie. So Ernie, Bill, coordinators. Ernie's phone was not ringing. That was the most amazing thing ever. I know, Josh, bro, you have no idea. I was like, everyone thought they were fired. Right. Okay. Anyways, so we'd have these coordinator meetings.
All-time story.
And we would go through the call sheet so I knew how Josh was going to call the game. Josh knew how I was going to call the game. I knew what Scotty O was going to call on special teams. And Bill would sit there and we'd talk about, okay, hey, does this fit the vision of how this game needs to go so that we give ourselves a chance to win? And that was the most fun.
That's a crazy thing. We talk about all these sexy hires, all these play callers, that these future coaches. You think that a good play caller could just be a great head coach? It's hard. It's fucking hard.
Being a head coach is hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard.
Jackie, let's break down the fucking Ravens. These Baltimore Ravens.
Let's
that
get through these
seem
Ravens.
Like they were in our division because we play them twice a year.
All the
once
time,
in the regular
man.
season and once in the playoffs.
Somehow didn't match up this year against them in the regular season.
But this year,
yeah,
you got to be in first place. All the first place teams play each other. That's how it goes. Well, that's what people don't realize about the schedule making. All in conference, whatever you place, you play all those same places, and then you get a different conference division. So that makes up the 18, 17 games.
The NFL schedule is beautiful how it's designed.
Like again, you think about the incredible run that we had, like every year, let alone we were getting whatever team we played, we were getting their best because that was the benchmark. But you're also playing the best teams every year, all the time. Like the mental fortitude, is that a word?
The mental stamina.
Toughness. Favorite, Tommy.
Yeah.
Like the what do you say? Stamina. What was it?
Competitive
stamina. It's my favorite term that he would use. Competitive stamina of you guys was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize right now with these Chiefs. Everyone says, oh, they only won by 2 points. They don't realize that every team And every coach that's coaching against them, they're sitting and they say, that's America's Most Wanted. If we beat them, we're going to get paid more. We're going to get a new job. We're going to do this. Every single team. And it's not like you're playing Louisiana Lafayette Agricultural School to the right. Everyone's getting fucking
Louisiana,
paid.
yeah.
Everyone's good.
Yeah.
Everyone's good. So
Everyone's
that's
good.
why it's impressive what they're doing. But that's what Matty P was trying to say. Like, you know, it gets hard when you're winning first place every year. You're America's Most Wanted.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
you're playing everyone's Super Bowl.
It's amazing. You don't realize, you know, and again, we did this on purpose, right? So we were always kind of behind the curtain. Like, you know, it was no one, we had that mystery about us, right?
Yeah.
Which we loved because we didn't talk outside the building. Like everything was in-house. And we loved it because actually it was an advantage. Like Teddy would say this all the time. Brew would be like, we had them beat before they walked on the field.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, how are they doing this? How are they doing this? And once we put a little bit of doubt in their head in the first or second quarter,
They pissed down their leg.
it was done. We were rolling.
Because we
had
wouldn't
'em.
make mistakes and
Yeah.
they would.
Yep, we had them.
That's why the great teams embrace the bullseye, baby.
You got to.
Got to.
You got it. You know what? Kyle Busch, this was great,
Yeah.
right? So,
He rubbed me when I was fucking starting a race in New Hampshire once when I was the pit car.
yeah.
He fucking bumps
Yeah,
me.
so I did the same thing. New Hampshire, go, right? Go.
Do the same thing. to
Actually,
me.
like, so I go out, I walk out with him and giving a check or something to him or whatever. So, you know, everyone loves to boo him,
Yeah.
right? So I come on, they like announce me and everyone's kind of like, and you know, cheering. And then like they announce him that they want to boo, but I'm on there. So it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And then he just looks at me, he goes, I love the boos. He goes, it means you're relevant. And I was like, I freaking like that.
It's true.
I
Love
like that
that.
a lot.
Love that
It was
mentality.
Awesome. It was awesome. He was,
You drove the pace car?
yeah. I didn't drive it. I rode.
See, I drove it.
Yeah.
I drove the pace car.
Getting bumped.
And he was the first. He won the fucking polls, so he was the first car,
Hey, Rubbin's racing.
and that's what he did. I was like, "Hey, this is Days of Thunder."
He's
dog."
also
He's like,
like-
"I didn't bump you. I rubbed you, Cole.
yeah.
And Rubbin is racing."
He's also a Broncos fan. So
I
mean,
know.
you
This
he's got to
fucking
give it to you.
cocksucker.
So.
He was so cool though. He let me
All right. Well,
into his trailer and everything. But
13-year-old's definitely not listening.
Oh yeah. Come on.
No, I'm teasing.
All right. Jack,
Anyway, these Ravens went 12-4, fourth year of the Harbaugh era. OC Cam Cameron, Chuck Pagano was leading the
Chucky
defense.
Pagano.
We know him, a future head coach after this. Ricky Williams last year in the NFL.
Yeah.
Wow, I
Wild.
remember that.
Yeah.
Ricky was taking snaps in this game. It just
Yeah.
blew my mind rewatching this game. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Running.
Man.
Ray.
Shout out Ricky. Fourth straight year making the playoffs for the Ravens. Terrell Suggs, DPOY, Defensive
good.
Player of the
Yep.
Year.
Yep.
And they swept their
fucking
division,
load.
so pretty dominant in the AFC North that year.
Dude, Jimmy Smith, I always say he was a really good. I liked him.
Yeah.
He was a
good player.
big physical guy that could get in and out of his breaks because
Could.
we played him so
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
And then Torrey Smith, he was a really fast receiver. Tyrod Taylor was a rookie. Wow.
Crazy.
They had the running back that was good.
Yeah. Ray Rice was good.
Ray Rice.
Ricky Williams.
Elodie Nada. That
Elodie.
guy. He's one of my favorite.
He's one of my favorites.
He's
too.
a fucking unload.
He is.
And he's a
he-
sweet guy. He wasn't like an
he's-
asshole like all of
The
the
amount of
other
respect.
ones.
The amount of respect I have for him is off the charts.
I remember Terrell, or no, that was Bart Scott. Bart Scott went to Billy O's face. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
said,
gosh.
"Fuck you, white boy." And Billy, like, I'm talking. This was like, I think the ref was doing the penalty for something, and like there's dead time on the field, and Bart went right up to him and did that, and Billy O like starts yelling at him.
And also, this was
Arthur Jones,
This was
Chandler's
late era
brother.
Ed Reed for the Ravens, second to last year in Baltimore.
Now, how much did
Ed
Bill?
Reed, man.
How much did he talk about him in coaches meeting? Because in our regular meetings, we'd have a 45 play cut up on a Wednesday fucking Ravens week of Ed Reed and the up and under on punt,
Yeah.
the fucking
Yep.
the punt return. Like, did Bill talk about him obsessively?
Yeah,
in
we
the
loved him.
coach?
We
He
love
loved.
defensive guys. What are you talking about? So
He
Ed Reed.
loved him some
So
Ed
here's the
Reed.
thing. So we played when I was at Syracuse, 2001. We played Miami last game of the year. So we were actually really good that year. Freeney was he was a senior. Dwight
Yeah, yeah.
he was rolling. That was our whole third down defense was, hey Dwight, just
Dwight
go sack.
Freeney. You
just
had
go,
Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight's my guy. Just go sack the quarterback. So we play Miami. McKinney, right, is the tackle for Miami.
Yeah.
So this is Dwight's story. But anyway, I was talking about Ed Reed. So Ed Reed and Jason Taylor literally, I think we threw more pick sixes to those guys in that game. I think they scored like 4 touchdowns apiece. It was unbelievable. It was a track meet. Like those guys were just so Ed Reed, like even college, he was unreal.
He's just so instinctive.
The way that he could find the ball, it was amazing.
He'd bait you too. There'd be some times where, like, I remember just in our game plan meetings when we play against him, for a offensive skill player, when you're looking at coverage, you never look at the corners because corners can lie and cheat. What you always do is you have to always take a pre-snap read of the safeties and then post-snap what those safeties are doing. You have to be able to locate them to see what responsibility they're trying to get, so then that adjusts what you're doing.
Field close, all that stuff that you got to see.
But whenever we play the Ravens, we had to, like, we couldn't do that because Ed would fucking just completely go rogue on something. Yeah. He would start up over here when he had to be the half field safety on the other side, and then get over there, which we would get him. We would get him. We would gash him with the touchdown here or there. But then there would also be a pick that came out of nowhere. Like, that's just Ed.
But
Reed.
those games within the game, like, because that's my the game within the game of like the quarterback, the safety, like Brady and Ed, like that's fascinating stuff. Like people that love like that is just. Watching those two great players go at it with each other was amazing. Or, like coverage you mentioned, or you'd find the fish, right? Who's the youngest guy on the field?
Who's the youngest guy on the field?
He's going to be the most scared about his coverage. So before the snap, he will be in the alignment he's supposed to be in. So just find the fish, and that'll give you so whether it was a nickel, a star, a corner, a safety,
By the end, I would look at, because sometimes I would hear like Scar and Brady and Josh, they'd talk about like the defensive line. And sometimes you get keys from the defense line on what the coverage would be. Because if they were in like a bear front or if they were in 5 down diamond, you knew you were always getting man because they were manning up. So like
or if you listen and you saw like, guy has, he's normally got one hand down, all of a sudden he's got the other hand down. It's like, okay, he's dropping.
Yeah, he's dropping.
He's dropping. He's not in his normal state.
There's all these little keys.
There's no different when we look at offensive tackles. I'm like, all right, well, if his heel is up here, if the stagger's this, it's pass, this is run, like all those, things you look for. But good players like Ed Reed, you better be careful.
Now, what was this offense for the Ravens? What was the keys to stop this offense? What was so good about this offense in 2011?
Well, I mean, coming out of the year before, obviously the run game was going to be an issue, right? So we got to stop the run. But this was getting Flacco. Like we got to get Joe Flacco. We got to make him uncomfortable. He's not really going to scramble. He's not going to take off. We got to push the middle of the pocket. They're going to get some yards. They've been getting it all year. We got to do a great job in the red area and then, make them try to drive it and get some turnovers, which we did. We got a couple great, the Spikes pick in this game is a great play by
the one-hander.
Yeah.
Right there.
That was a really good pick. Yeah. Now with Joe Flacco, what I always saw with Joe.
You want me to pull the book? I can show you.
Let's see what book do we got.
Yes, please.
Yes.
We're coming on.
All the Patriot guys.
We're coming on. We're coming on.
Pioli, Ernie, Maddie.
Got all of them. We're good.
Did Josh bring shit too?
Josh didn't bring anything, did he?
Nah, I don't think so.
Josh. Billy O, he brought a tea kettle. He got all pissed off.
So this would be, right?
So this is your play sheet?
So this would be the play sheet from the game.
How many times do you refine that?
So I was obsessed.
Yeah, so you'd probably start out with probably like 800 plays and then condense it to like 60.
So through the course of the week, like I'd build it, right? So whether it was early downs, third downs, red area, I would build them as we would go through. And then by the end, I would sit there and just love
in case.
Love it, thanks.
Yeah.
I'd sit there by the end and, I'd build the call sheet. And we always had, I had a little bit of a different call sheet than all the other coaches because they also had the personnel on the back. I wasn't doing the rotation of the players and all that stuff. Yeah. So all the situational stuff was on the back. But yeah, so in the front of the game, we'd go circle the calls we were going to start with in the game, go from there. And then I'd have like minis. So, sometimes when my eyes actually worked, my eyes don't work anymore.
Yeah.
But I'd be able to call it off the minis if I wanted those. I couldn't find my notebook for this one, my handwritten notes during the game. But yeah, so we had, I got the evaluation of the game right here. Things we did well, things we did poorly.
So when you're about to call a play, you're looking over to see who's the signal guy to tell us what personnel we're getting.
So Boyer was upstairs.
So Boyer's upstairs. He's going over to you. we got 11, we got 11, we got 11. So you sit and you go to your 11 personnel group.
There's nobody better upstairs than Josh. Josh
I know, he knows.
His eyes, the way he saw the game, the information he gave me. It was
I
great.
love Josh. He was at Kent.
Yeah.
So he gives you personnel, and then you already know situation.
Yeah.
So it's 1st and 10. You go to your 1st and 10 thing. All right, we got 11 personnel. All right, 11 personnel, and then you're changing up if you want 11 personnel blitz or this, that, and that's what you're making the decision on.
Yeah, or based on how I think the game is going, or if I have a tendency on how I think he's going to call it. Like some guys get in run pass rhythms, some guys go run pass, or whatever that is, or
a first down after crossing the 50, maybe a shot.
all those situational things that
it's
come
like
up. I
fucking
mean,
clockwork.
just if we get to the logo or
Low fringe or fringe shot.
high red area fringe, high
high red
fringe.
fringe.
Yep, backed up, protection, block it up, throw it outside if you're showing press. Yeah, all that stuff.
Can I ask the dumbest at home fan question? Just hear me out for a second. The play sheet's laminated.
Yes.
You've got a pencil in your ear.
Right. Or I had a paper notepad. So you can see on the back there, those are the second, Julian's got it right now. I was like Staples now. I mean, I had.
So is this the adjustments from
those are
halftime?
those are the adjustments, or probably during the game, in the second half. Those are second
half. One of
halves.
those markers too that you can get on the elimination.
So I had my thin markers in my right front pocket. I had thick markers in my back pocket because it would cross them out. I had pencil here. I had a notebook in the front of my pocket because sometimes it was cardboard or paper. Because again, the laminate's great. The thing about the laminate was good. It was like you could mark on it and do all that. But it actually, when you laminated, it made the thing bigger so I could actually see it sometimes. Because, it's hard. But, you'd be writing, doing all that stuff. But again, if it rained or if it snowed, like those markers are useless, right? So they don't work. Paper and pencil always works. Cardboard works. And a lot of times, like if I had the call sheet here, I actually had paper in front of it. And so during the series, as I'm getting notes, I would quick mark on the paper in front of me, in front of the call sheet, and then go back. And then when everyone came to the sideline, I would go and mark up in marker on the call sheet because I didn't want to mark on the call sheet during the call. I didn't want to correct anything on the call sheet because I wanted the call sheet. That's where I was making the calls from. So I needed that as good as it could be. I mean, it got chaotic, some of these game plans. So I hand drew all of our game plans. Hand wrote, hand drew every call.
Did you type it into something though?
Only the call sheet.
So all that is you don't have that. You know what you should do? You know what I would do if I was you?
Tell me.
If you want to be real smart,
usually,
which you have engineering power to do this. You know how there's ChatGPT?
Yes, I'm into that right now.
You should make Chat Matty P, where you log all your football shit in, and then whenever I have anything, I could just say, "What is that base thing?" This, that. You could type it in there, and it'll take all the databases from all your notes, and it'll be able to answer the question.
Now that's AI. I could get behind.
That's AI.
I might already be on that.
See,
I might already be.
I know you're on that shit. I know you're on that shit.
I am heavy into that right now.
But that's what it's gonna be.
That's what it's gonna be. Yep. I can't believe you just told everybody. I can't believe you just.
Oh yeah, we were watching this, and I always remember sometimes you get in front when I would play scout team, because when I was playing scout team at this time, Matty P would come coach the scout team for 15 minutes on what he wanted to emphasize on the period of the play cards. So he would go through all our play cards, what we had to go run against the real team or the ones, and he would go and kind of try to coach how they would do it. And so a lot of times when we play these guys with Joe Flacco, he'd be like, he'd go to the quarterback, he goes, "All right, I don't care if the guy's covered down the field. Just throw it up because they're going to try to get a PI."
Yeah.
And half the time. Is that not true?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he was going to go the 50-50, everybody calls it 50-50 balls.
50-50 ball.
But defensively, for me, it was always like, really, there's three things that can happen on the play when you played these guys. And they always had, it was either you could break it up, he can catch it, or they're going to get a
PI.
they're going to get a PI and then get the ball down there. So I'm like, we have to practice that. If we don't practice that, we're not going to be able to make those plays live and in the game. It was all like, because again, you're downfield trying to play the ball up in the air, and a lot of times for the show teams, it's like, all right, well, I'm just not going to throw it. I'm like, no, I need this guy to get this rep. I don't care if he's covered because this is going to happen in the game, and if he doesn't do it in practice, he's not going to, as a player, you're not going to have that confidence that you're going to be able to do it right in the game. And I just wanted to have that confidence going in the game. So, we'd be out in the field and I'd be like, hey, you've made this play 3 times this week. Like I threw at you on purpose. Like just go make it in the game. You can do that. So yeah.
What would you say the craziest little one of those types of things you guys made players do to work on players' weaknesses? Because I have one. Like when you used to tape up the balls, they would tape up DB's hands. They would tape up their hands so they couldn't grab. If they got a lot of grabbing penalties, they would fucking tape their hands so they couldn't grab in practice.
They'd be so mad.
I would be, if I was a DB, I would be like, this is fucking crazy. Yeah. Or if, say, another team was on vice versa as a receiver, Bill and Matty P would go on to the other, the scout team for the defense, and he would say, line up offsides and hold the guy.
Yeah.
There's no holding.
There's no holding this week.
There's no holding this week.
Just hold them. Or like pass rush. I tell the defensive ends against, if like you had a good rusher for the offensive tackles, hey, just line up offsides.
Yeah.
Like just don't worry about lining up on the ball. Just line up offsides because that's how fast this guy gets off the ball. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what people don't realize. When I see all these situations, like when a defensive lineman sees the ball on the ground after a quarterback got strip sacked, and there's a pile of guys, and a guy tries to pick it up instead of just falling on it.
Yeah, country
like
and
we
city.
used to literally fucking practice that, where they would sit there and throw a ball out and say, all right, there's two guys, all right, you can pick it up, or you have to get on it and cradle it.
Country and city.
Country and city.
What are you in? You're in the country, pick it up. If you're in the city, get on it.
Get on it.
Yep.
That means
too much traffic.
Too much traffic. Jackie, what's the game?
Let's blast through this thing. 32 degrees at kickoff. This is the early game of the championship series, so it's still New York, San Fran on the back end. Bledsoe, honorary captain.
Yep.
Steven Tyler out there singing the national anthem.
Yep.
This thing is getting kicked off. Yeah. And we're coming off the Tebow Mania end. Gronk, 3 TD performance, riding high. And then, of course, a little bit of bad memories coming in here with the Ray Rice 87-yard TD to kick it off 2 years earlier. So that was a storyline swirling too. We alluded to this earlier in the episode. 3-and-out fest to start the game. 3 in a row. Big Vince was in there, tackle for loss, sacks. We're moving the ball down the field. 3 points in the first half, low scoring, or the first quarter. Sorry about that. Pats up 3-0. Tom throws a pick late in the first quarter, intended for Jules.
I know.
That drive extends into the second.
So mad at me. I look at like such a young player in that play. Hate it. I hate it.
The scoring opens up a little bit in the second quarter. 10-10. Steve-O tacks on.
Technically, the ball is supposed to be outside of numbers, 2 yards outside the numbers.
This is why we are how we are. We've won so many games. I couldn't, like, sometimes I'm like, God, I don't remember that. I know every game, every bad play, like all, like we obsessed.
You know what? You know what's crazy? This makes me rehash and remember stuff.
Yeah.
I don't just sit and remember, like, because we were blessed and fortunate enough where we had so many. Usually, if you're like a guy that goes to high school, you play football, you remember everything from high school. But we've gone on to so many crazy experiences, and we've had a lot of them that, like, my processor can't handle it all.
Yeah. I mean, we were like 6 Super Bowls, 8 straight AFC Championship. I don't know how many total AFC Championship. I mean, it's just like so lucky.
Yeah. It's crazy.
13-10 at the half. Pats are up. Moving into the second half,
Yep.
We extend the lead with another Steve-O field goal. A lot of bend, don't break going on both sides of the ball. Baltimore gets a lead, first lead of the game on a Torrey Smith 29-yard touchdown. Then we have a tough sequence coming up here. Woody fumbles the subsequent kick return.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. I forgot.
Hold him to 3, though.
Big red area stop.
Hold him to 3 on a big red area stop.
Yeah, that was big.
So it's...
What's the art of the red area stop?
Oh, yes.
Negative play.
Negative play.
Decreases your chances of scoring.
It's resetting the line of scrimmage.
Negative play in the red area decreases your chances of scoring by like 50% or whatever it is. So it was always like when they run the ball, like they you can never let them run it in. Like
Never.
And then it's the, stop them on early downs, and then it's the 4-point play on third down.
Hey everyone, Julian Edelman here. There's no better time to enjoy live events. I've had my eyes on NFL playoff tickets, and there's always Bruins and Celtics games for when you're itching to get out of the house and catch some action. That's why I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's show, SeatGeek. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. They've got more than 70,000 events listed, from concerts and sports to festivals and more. You name it, they've got it. The best part? SeatGeek has your back. Every ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Just look at the green dots. Green means good and red means bad. And every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you're set. And you know I came through for you guys. You can use code GAMES10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code GAMES10. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. I'll see you out there.
So we used to do goal line 7-on-7.
I remember.
Competitive. Like, it was like, we would talk.
That's when he brought out the easy button. We talked about that,
we
remember?
We would talk shit and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we would bat, Brady and all that. So, and Rob would always be talking, so I would put the garbage cans up because he'd be running the route. Like, in
Garbage
the
cans
backfield.
were for the linemen positions.
So I'd put them out and like make sure that they couldn't just run through because we had, only the Skelly out there. And so Rob was yakking. And so I had the garbage can in front of me and I knew he was running a crossing route behind me. So he takes off and starts to run, and I take the garbage can and I throw it behind me. And all I hear is boom, boom, and I turn around and he's on the ground and he's laying there and he's not moving. This is Friday before game. And he's laying there and he's not moving. And I was like, oh my God, I just broke his leg. Like, I was like, I'm like, I'm going to get fired right now. Like, I just killed him. And so I'm like, so now I panic, go over and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, are you okay? And he starts laughing. And I was like, you son of a bitch. I was like, he scared the shit out of me. He used to, like, my kids would come after training camp was the best, right? And he would always take Dominic and put him on his back and do push-ups. He's like, I gotta do my push-ups. And he'd take Dom and he'd bang out the push-ups. And I was laughing at him earlier. I was like, do you remember my oldest Dom's first Halloween? I'm like, I came to your house, for trick or treat. And so Rob, obviously I know where he lives, right? So he comes to the door and he's wearing the exact same clothes he wore to work, right? With a knitted Santa Claus like mask, like right on his face. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, trick or treat, whatever. My Dom's like 1. So it puts it in. So I was talking to him. So he's got the mask on. I was like, oh my God, did you get a lot of trick or treaters or anything? And he's not really saying anything. And I was like, all right. And he kind of like looks at me. He's like, how did you know it was me? And I was like, well, I know where you live, and you're in the same exact clothes I saw you in 2 hours ago. Like,
and you're 6'8"
you're
in
6
Foxborough.
In Foxborough, like
260 pounds, Jack Santa Claus.
It was like the best, man. I love it.
How did you know it was me?
How did you know it was me? He's
Look
like,
at Rob.
he's like shaking. I was like, this is the absolute best.
Oh,
but we used to talk, and Tommy, right? So we talk so much. And again,
7-on-7 goal line Friday Pastillos was
my old heads back in the day, Vrabel, Brewski, like those guys, they would go play show team just to play show team because they were bored and they'd go out and play safety and, Tom would get all mad. So it was always like, it's not going to remember, we're always competition back and forth between the offense and defense.
What was the one time that because I know Braves used to give it to Brady.
Oh, yeah.
The worst. Yeah. Was there a specific incident or a practice? You don't have to say what he said that you remember where, like, I think he may have went too far.
When you would hear the helmet go flying and it would be yard sale, earpiece, mouthpiece, like I was like, oh, they got him. They got him good. He'd be so mad. He'd be so mad. And he'd probably tell you too, the worst part is that those guys probably messed up the look. He's like, they're not where they're supposed to be. And, he'd get all, because he knew.
The card says cover 3, they're in fucking
they're,
2.
Yeah, split field safety stuff and rolling. But with Tom and Gronk, this one was great too. We would always do competitive drives, 2-minute, all that stuff. And there was a lot of shit talking going on back and forth. And Gronk's on the far side of the field. And I think I was giving him a lot of shit. I was like, you guys, we got you, whatever. Tommy takes a snap. Drops back and he throws it. And as soon as he lets it go, he turns around at me and he looks at me and he was like, gives me one of these. And I was like, and I knew as soon as he threw it, I was like, oh my God, it's a touchdown. Like he's about to like score. So he gives me one of these and he's looking at it, doesn't even look at the play. Looks at me and I was like, oh, he dropped it. And he turns around, he was so mad because he thought like Gronk caught it. It was a touchdown. He turned around, he looked back at me and I was like, dude, that was a ridiculous throw. I was like, it was unreal. So much fun, man.
And they said no fun over there.
We did. Oh my God, Matt Light. Are you kidding me? Like,
What's
he
up
didn't
with the
even
Matt
tell-
Light story?
The Dinosaur Barbecue one in Rochester, which he did the game. That was amazing because, so being from Syracuse, that's where Dinosaur Barbecue was. They opened up in Rochester. So he texted me. We're on the bus. Like, we're literally trying to beat a snowstorm. And we're just like, we're going to get on 90, the throughway, and we're going to drive until eventually they just shut the throughway down. We get up in Rochester. We go to a hotel. It's like under construction. Like, there's like stuff everywhere. And I get a text from Light. I would always get a text from Light. He said, Dinosaur BBQ, meet us. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad.
We
And
just clinched.
I just remember I was like, thank God there was like no videos and phones of all that stuff. And I remember walking in, like boat races are going on and like all of that. And I was like, I'm going to have to babysit this. This is not, because I was always the one that was like, hey, let's get Matty P. He'll take care of it. And that way, if we get in trouble, we're okay. And I was like, not again. Because like we do the same when we would do training camp. This one's great. So all the coaches had bed check, and your name would be on the board of who was the bed check coach that night. So Light comes to me during training camp. He goes, hey, listen. He goes, you got bed check tonight? I said, yeah. He goes, you got to do me a favor. He goes, there's a new movie coming out. He goes, I rented the movie theater. He goes, but the whole team's going to be there. It's okay. He's like, but we're going to be a little late. And I was like, you motherfucker. I was like, why my night? Like, why do I have the worst bed check? Everything always happened to me on bed
Probably
check.
not even a movie in sight. Not a movie in sight.
So I was like, what in the heck? I was like, okay. I'm like, well, and like, I don't say anything. I'm like, all right, I got you. I'm like, but I'm coming. Like, I'm going to the movie. So it was Anchorman. That was the movie. It was just come out. And literally the whole movie, it's the whole team is in the movie theater, popcorn, everywhere, like the whole thing. And I just remember it ending and it's like 11, whatever, curfew was at 11. I'm like, look, everyone's got 20 minutes and I'm like, I'm going to rooms in 20 minutes. You better hurry up. But it was like one of those things where life's like, hey, just, it'd be good for the team. You know how he could sell anything. And I was like, oh, this guy's killing me right now.
Matt Light won training camp. Every day at the end of training camp, we'd have 2-minute drill. And for the film, they would always go to the clock, which was you'd have fans under the clock, and it's like there's like a lawn. There's a bunch of fans under, but I'd go to the clock to see where it was before the play to see the time on the play. So like if you had 2 minutes to go after a play, you'd have 1:30, you have no timeouts, whatever. But you get that shot of the scoreboard every single time. And so Matt had one of his buddies come up during 2-minute, and he wrote a bunch of signs that he knew after each play to put the sign up before the thing for the cut up so the whole team would have to see it. And there would be signs like, mayo, I wish I put some mayo on those buns, or he had all these crazy things. And so
Welker, I'm wide. Yeah, I have them all. I have them. They're in my garage.
You still have these?
They were in the back of my truck. Cause again, Light's like, I gotta hide these. I'm throwing them in the back of your truck. I'm like, don't put them in my truck. Like, I don't want the evidence. Like, so we go into the team meeting, and Bill's he's up there and he's coaching, and so no one's catching it. Like the first time it flashes over, but you can see the players are like, wait, what did I just see right there? And then Bill's like, go to the next play. And
Bill
then
don't see it yet.
The next one comes up, and then so now like part of the room sees it, and now part of the room starts chuckling. So now once part of the room starts, I was like, what? And so you can see I sat behind, and I can see the whisper going through, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh my Lord. I'm like, he did not. And I knew because I could look over, and Light always, I knew when he was guilty. It was like your kids, right? I always knew when he was guilty, and I was like, I can't. So I'm staring at him, and he won't. Like, I know he can feel the heat coming off of me, and he won't look over, and he's just got his little smirk. And so now eventually everyone's like cracking up, and Bill's like, what?
There's like 10 different signs because there's 10 plays.
And then he's like, what the hell? Like just goes on the rant. The whole room erupts, and it was unbelievable.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Now, what does Bill say to that after, like to the staff meeting?
I think you know what he says after that.
This fucking asshole. Jesus Christ.
I mean, I think But that's the thing. Like, listen, as I know everyone's like, hey, what's your best Bill story? Like everyone, right? Whatever. Like Bill's like my best friend.
We all get that.
He's like my best friend.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
no, he's my best friend.
I said he can be, but like the thing, like people don't see is like, no, Bill having a water gun fight in my pool with my kids in the middle of the summer, like that's the funniest to me. And my kids are like dunking them, like that's hysterical. That's the Bill I know. But everyone's like, oh, practice and all that stuff. And I go, yeah, but look, it was work. Like we went to work. Like that's what it was. We love football. It was our passion. We learned. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. Like it was hard. Every day was hard.
Yeah.
But you guys made it fun. Like it was just like, that was the best part of my day. It was like, I would get done with the, 12 hours I would work at night and I didn't want to see anybody, the coaches or whatever. And then you guys would come in and be like, oh, okay, they're the players are here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get going. And that was the great part about it. And that's what was so fun. But like stuff like that, it would happen all like, the pig's head.
The pig's head. Which one was that?
So Light would have pig roast.
Yeah.
Or a friend of ours would have pig roast. And all of a sudden there would be a pig head that would show up in the locker room because we used to have the one door.
Yeah.
And you'd open up the door and there's a pig head sitting in your locker, like right there, and guys were freaking. I mean, it was.
He put a live duck in someone's locker.
Dude, one time I walked out of the meal room, and the running back room used to be right there.
Yeah.
And Ivan was in there. It was late in the afternoon for Ivan. So
nap time.
Phil might have been watching that. And I look in, and Light is literally doing the chicken. He's walking like a chicken behind Ivan, and like one of the cronies is in there with the camera, and he's filming it, and I'm like, what are you doing? Literally walking like a chicken in the back of the running back room.
But getting it on camera.
Yeah, getting it. He filmed everything. He has it all. Like he has all that stuff.
There's some stories that we couldn't tell of how crazy Light was about certain things that he did to teammates. There was things we couldn't tell.
Was there ever a moment where you're like, all right, he went too far. This is it. Like
with Light,
he's getting at it. Like he's getting cut.
I would say with Light, it was always borderline. The stuff that got out of control, which actually ended all of it, was the quarterbacks. That ended it.
What happened?
You never messed with the guy that had real money.
No.
Because real money could really mess you up.
Yeah.
Like guys that send moving companies to your house and move all of your furniture out onto the front lawn while you're at practice and you go home in your entire house. Now that would cost a normal person like $20,000, but somebody has real money, like you're messing with the wrong person.
Wrong person.
Wrong. Or you take whatever it was, 3 of the tires off their car and hide
them. I remember that.
3 of them in the locker and the 4th one's hidden.
On the stadium grounds.
Yeah. So
not in the stadium, on the stadium grounds.
Or you maybe alter someone's jersey and hang it in the shower so that it dries, but when he sweats, the smell of how you altered it comes back in the middle of practice and you want to throw up. That was the worst.
Oh my God.
You'd put you'd take their mouthpieces and you'd spray them with deodorant. Because you never put your mouthpiece in until you got to practice. You put them in, the deodorant just sucks all the saliva out of your mouth. And now you can't breathe and you can't. That was a good one. So we are at the Pro Bowl. We're at the Pro Bowl and he's there. And the Pro Bowl's over. And I can't remember if we were flying home or we were just at the after party at the Pro Bowl. I think we were at the after party. And he's sitting there with us and he goes, watch this. He goes, I got this app. And he goes, I'm going to call, and Billy O is across the room. And he calls Billy O, but it came up on Billy O's phone as Robert Kraft. So I'm watching and Light's like, watch this. And so he dials it and I'm looking at Billy and Billy O's looking at his phone. He's like, oh, fuck. He's like, and he's showing everybody, he's like, Robert's calling, like, what do I do? And so you can see him like answer and Light's doing like, Mr. Kraft on the other end, like how disappointed he is in the game. And, we needed to show better in the Pro Bowl. And Billy's like answering him. I'm dying. I'm like, how does this guy have this stuff? He was absolutely amazing, man.
What did Billy O do when did he find out?
Oh, we were dying. We were rolling. I think I have pictures of that somewhere too.
Jesus.
Of us just taking pictures of him as he's answering the phone. But,
oh my God.
Light. Yeah, you had to, no, the quarterback thing was crazy. We used to have the FBI dye that would turn purple. So they'd put it in like money bags, you know, and like if you got the money bag wet or whatever, then all the money would turn purple. It was like a white powder.
Yeah.
So you'd put it in everybody's cleats, before you go to practice. So you wouldn't know. And now you sweat during training camp and you come out of training camp and your feet are purple. And you can't, it's like grade whatever dot, you can't get it off. And you're just, so like, you're walking around the city like, he got dye, he got it. He got it. You couldn't tell. The worst was Pierre. This is the worst.
What did he do to
This
Pierre?
is too far.
I lived with Pierre. It's my guy.
Pierre's my guy,
Yeah,
right?
I lived with him.
So Light, this is so bad, man. Light had this stack of lottery tickets that were like fixed, like they were winners, and they were like $10 million or something crazy. So it's Christmas. I think it was Christmas, and he's handing out the lottery tickets, and Pierre sitting at the table, and he gets one, and he starts scratching, and he's like, and he's scratching a little bit more. And he's like, scratching again. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, I think I just won $10 million. And like, they're letting it go on and on and on and Light. And I'm like, you son of, I'm like, it's not cool, bro.
Way too far.
It's not. It's way too far right there. Like,
Thank God he didn't go to the damn
go-
defensive room saying, fuck you guys, I'm out of here.
Right. Hey, Matty P, I'm not playing this week. I'm done. Like, I was like, oh my, that one, I felt that one was bad.
All right, we got to get back to this. Can you take us through the Sterling Moore punch?
Yeah. So driving in the 2 minute, which, 2 minutes brutal, right? So
We
driving
fucked up
down,
the lock and combo
Yeah, we had lock and combo
on a
issue.
third down, third and six. Was it third or fourth?
That
It
was
third.
Third
and six.
So now they're in the fringe, and throw it up to the sideline. It was the far sideline. It was their sideline going away from the lighthouse, and we're beat at the line of scrimmage. And Sterling, the thing that was so special about him was he just had an unbelievable ability to play the hands, and really he was strong.
Yeah.
Like his hands, his punch, like his finish through was really strong. Good quickness, good change of direction. But this is high competition. This is at the end of the game. And so the ball goes up, and obviously, it's like trying to go to the Super Bowl, all that. And you're like, oh my God, we're beat at the line of scrimmage, and he's trailing, he's in full trail. And it just totally casual, drops in, and then I was like, oh my God, he's going to knock it out. And I just knew it was like, because we saw it in practice all the time.
He did that a lot in
And
practice.
he timed it so perfectly as he chopped through. And it is literally, they did a whole science thing. I think ESPN did a whole whatever breakdown of the science behind how fast he did it before the second foot came down and he knocked it out and the control and the whole thing. It was just one of those plays where I was like, somebody helped us right there. Somebody, because we were beat, that should have won
Mrs.
the
Kraft.
game. Yeah, Myra made it. And then, we needed it on the fourth down on the field goal, and she did it again. So I think the Sterling Moore, you think about plays in the NFL that happened for this game, for me, you finally coming along and being the guy that I was like, all right, we got a two-way player. Let's go. We're gonna do this on defense, right?
My guy.
Sterling Moore, the legacy of Sterling Moore is really solidified in this game, right? So this is his, game that people know who he is. And then, Myra pushing the ball a little bit to the left.
The missed field goal.
And missing the field goal, and we're going back to the Super Bowl.
Now, what are you doing pre-snap before that? Are you going over your potential before the kick?
Yeah.
Are you going over potential
Yeah.
calls?
So in all
for
those
overtime?
all these situations, I'm always panicked, right? So I'm never watching the kick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always thinking like, all right, it's tied. They get the ball. How are we gonna play the next series? Which probably drove everybody crazy. And certainly, Boyer's the one that had to keep me calm, because I'd be talking to play. I'm like, look, they get the ball. We got to do that. And all the players I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm watching the kick, and I'm like, I can't watch the kick. I got to do something to take my mind off it. It was no different than the Super Bowls we were in when the same thing happened.
Yeah.
So I didn't really. I wait for the reaction to know where we're going with it. So I gotta stay busy.
That was crazy. We missed that. And that was for them to tie it. Everyone thinks it was for them to win it. and stuff.
23-20.
That was just to tie it.
Yep.
That was like a crazy year for us, the aftermath, because there was that drought. There was a fucking drought from that 07 to that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a new team.
Well, we're rebuilding.
Yeah,
we got to the end of 09. I mean, Bill and I just kind of looked at each other and said, all right, we gotta start over. And it was just like, all right, how are we going to rebuild the roster? What are we going to do with the pieces we got? Where do we got to go? How do we, what do we want to be? Where's the league going? That was a great thing. Bill always knew kind of like, hey, the league's going to shift here or shift this direction. And we would always try to stay in front of that. Or the big thing for us really after this was, it was really probably this year, we were so predominantly base 3-4 defense at that point, because there was a lot of 21 and 12 and 22. Baltimore played 22 personnel. And half of the league at one point was playing 3-4, whether it was branches of our coaching staff that was out there or Pittsburgh's. it just became harder in the draft to find outside linebackers.
Yeah.
You know, so we kind of switched. 2011, we played like really like one outside linebacker. We played more of a 4-man line, kind of like 4-3. And then after this, because of 12 personnel and the way that was going, it was easier for us to get in a 4-down front and play the big nickel, the sub packages, still have base. And so after this year, I went in and I was like, look, every training camp, we start with the same run fits. We start with the same install. I said, I'm scrapping all that. I'm like, we're going to start in sub, you know, and I started to change the defense. 2012, we got some more pieces. I got High, you know, Chandler that year, right? And those were new pieces of the defense I was really able to create. Then the next year, Jamie came in. We got Talib. That changed another piece for me. I started sending the linebackers, what's called like, people call like sim pressures now. We were doing those in 2013, you know, and I basically—
What's a sim pressure?
So where, you know what it is. So basically it looks like 5-man rush pressure, but it's actually 4 and someone else is dropping out. And you're trying to really mess with the protections. And one of the things I found out—
But they're changing. They don't know which guy's dropping out. That's
So-
what people. So that's why when you say you're trying to mess with protections, there's 5 guys coming. The offensive line can pick them up, but if they don't know which guy's not coming, or you're dropping someone and you have someone do something, then it confuses their protection, and that's when guys come out free.
Yeah, and the quarterback throws. Rob got his pick against Peyton.
Yeah.
You know, I dropped him. That was a sim. But the thing that was happening was I was doing all of sub defense in this timeline, but I was using 3-4 principles. So in 3-4, you got the 3 down, but you don't know where the 4th rusher's coming from.
Yeah.
And so it was just calls on the field based on formation and things like that. So I just took that principle and I basically went to 2-4 defense. So the 2 defensive tackles, because I had Rob on the left. Chan was on the right, but then Chan got hurt, you know, and we bring in Akeem Ayers, who's another outside linebacker type. So it was like I had 4 backers on the field. Now I've got Jamie and High behind the line of scrimmage, and I realized, hey, when the protection slide's going here, the back's he's got to block Jamie or Hightower. So I was like, look, just make a call, drop him. He knows what the drop is, outside linebacker. Just switch it on the field. You go, run over the back, and go, you know, get the quarterback.
Yeah.
So we just created all of the on-field communication calls really out of a 2-4 system is what it was. And then, you know, eventually that, because you have to have run fits on all this, you know, I moved the defensive tackle on the weak side. He started from like a shade to a 2 wide to a 2, and then eventually 2 3s. You know, we get through 13 with what we had Talib, who changed the coverage. So now we go from a 2 and a 3 team to really a cover 1 team. Man, middle field safety help, zone middle field, but lock it up on the backside with him. You know, Revis comes in 14. The defense takes another real kind of progression to 5-down looks. We had all the 6-up looks, the double mugs, all that was in there from 2004. So I just used all those. And then the 5-down looks where I could reduce Chandler, walk now Jamie and High up on the edge, because now they had to go 5-down protection. Now I'm sending the other one through the middle, because now he's back on the back. I'm using the same rush calls to just drop whoever I wanted to. So they had like 4 different looks, and we're just messing with the front, moving the coverage behind it, and just evolving the defense. We get to the Super Bowl, we're playing a lot of 5-down, but now I've got the quarterback read option. So I kick both of the tackles out to 3 techniques. We go into, you know, we call like ball and chain, where now I'm sending the linebacker through the middle and the other guy's wrapping fast over the top. So that's how that stopped that whole run system, you know, in the Super Bowl.
In Seattle, which one?
The Seattle Super Bowl in 14. And then by the time we get to 15, we're running that. We had some injuries. We get to 16. Now we're in more 5-down and then 6-up looks. You know, branch. We just kept evolving, you know, and just, it was always
And then we
about
started
who we
putting
had.
on like, because the league, the offenses were changing.
Yeah.
Like this game, we're all 12. By the time at the end of my career, we were having like 7 DBs on the fucking field.
Yeah.
You know, because the game has changed that much from, you know, space game, 11 personnel. Now there's 4 wides groups. But if we all take a real look at all the dominant teams, they're all still using the old shit.
Yeah.
Because it goes and flows. Now everyone, you know, the fullback's coming back where you could blow up these small linebackers.
No one's practicing base defense anymore.
So
when you put 21 on the field, what was happening is you have 3 calls.
Yeah.
You just don't have the time during the week. So you know offensively, hey, we put this unit out there. It's going to be 1 of 3 calls. All right, well, let's get our keys. We know how we're going to attack this. You know, you stay in 11. You let us run our sub packages. Like it could be 4 down, it could be 6 up, it could be 5 down, it could be odd spacing. We could be in a buck look.
Yeah.
You have all those plus all the disguises behind it that we were using, and the on the field, because we had smart players on the field calls where we're swapping and switching.
And versatility.
That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, and we drafted a bunch. Jamie Collins, Hightower,
So
Chan.
And just all of those guys I kept. We drafted Chandler, Syracuse guy. I was like, we drafted pass rusher finally, but then I loved Dante. Like High was, he was the guy I just watched on tape. And again, there was
He could do it all too. Though.
There was an outside linebacker from Alabama that was getting all the press who actually went to Baltimore. But I loved High. Like I was like, High will be the next signal caller. He's going to be the guy that stands in front of the huddle, and he's going to be the guy I talk to. And he could play on the edge. He could play like the versatility guys. Because then I got Van Noy, right? And he was another versatility guy. Versatile. Or I just kept getting. Again, we'd get however we could, but I was like, okay, what's the role? What can they do? How can they get on the field? How does it help us win? And that was so fun about the creativity. I got Steph, so we could stay in more of the lockup stuff with him. We could push coverage. We could have help. Devin was in the deep part of the field. Pat Chung was the key to all of it, playing the safety position. And we could, just keep working around whatever pieces we had. And that was the fun. Like it was so much fun to like do that stuff and then create. And we would, we do all those blitz pickup stuff before practice. So I'd be trying stuff out against the offense and, everybody get all mad. And, like, what are we seeing? And I'm like, well, if you can't pick it up, then I think it's probably going to work against this guy.
Walkthroughs where we do ones-on-ones.
This is the worst one. The worst one was where Mayo. So I call it double mug. He walks up inside. I forgot who the other inside backer was. And Rob's on one side, Chan's on the other outside. And it was Josh and Googe. So we're doing the blitz, right? Pre-practice. And so make a protection call. So Mayo looks at Rob and goes, switch. So they switch. Mayo walks up outside, Rob comes inside. So now the offense is changing it again, right? So now Rob switches inside. So we changed it again on offense. And then I looked at Mayo and I go, it's like chaos, like move it all. So Mayo flips everybody. So Mayo goes outside, the Chandler goes inside, Rob goes back outside, like all four. And it was like a 3-hour argument. With Googe and Josh on how they were going to pick it up. And honestly, we didn't do anything. Like was just smart guys. But you're getting
operation.
Yeah.
So you're practicing communication. And that's like 80% of defense is being able to communicate. Like they're the most athletic dudes on the fields, but I always say they're the dumbest guys I know. Dumbest guys I know.
Here we go again.
Lock and combo, the receiver on the fucking field that doesn't play DB did the right call, and the guy who plays it for a living, making lots of money, didn't get the call.
Just run a slant route. You've been running that since you're in 3rd grade.
Exactly.
Very well.
It's time for the Chill Zone, brought to you by Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/GWN. Celebrate responsibly. Can you walk us through the Malcolm Butler situation? The interception in 14 on the Super Bowl, that whole sequence of plays, and what do you got on that?
Yeah, so obviously you're talking about great games and certainly the 11 Baltimore team and the why and all of it. That's why I love that one, and obviously you. So I thought that'd be a great one, but the 14 game, the 16 game, the Super Bowl, there's some crazy stuff that just happened in those games. And the thing about the 14 Super Bowl with Seattle, so going back to around this time, really, when I took over the defense 11 and 10, Bill would come to me every training camp. And again, in the Bible, I had all the calls. And he'd be like, hey, he's like, every training camp, hey, when are we putting goal line 3 corner in? And I'd be like, I'm like, we got to get that in. We got to get that. I'm like, we're never going to run goal line 3 corner. Like, it's 11 personnel. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, they're going to throw. Like, it's just the whole thing. So for years, I was like, it's going in. Like, we never got it in. So as soon as we win the championship game, and I'm like, I knew we were playing Seattle, I walked in the defensive staff room, and I go, you're not going to believe what I'm about to say. And they're all like, what? And I'm like, we got to put goal line 3 corner in. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we're going to need this call in this game. I'm just telling you, like, we can't go 11 personnel and not have as much mass on the field. I'm like, we got to figure this out. So I knew like that Monday, and everyone was like, there's no way you're going to call this. And I'm like, I'm just telling you, we're going to need this call. So start drawing it up, going through the call.
Why do you think you need the call?
because I knew that no one had seen it. We hadn't run this call.
But what
in
did
probably a
Seattle
decade.
do to make you think you might need that call?
It's just 11 personnel inside the 3-yard line, trying to be able to stop Lynch, the quarterback run game, the receivers that are on the field. If you were going to go sub defense on the 2-yard line, like, it's just too much space.
Yeah.
There's just too much space. Like, he's too good. Remember, like, I played Lynch for a lot of years when he was at Buffalo. Like, my happiest day when Buffalo sent him to Seattle, I was like, I'm gonna send flowers to Buffalo. Like, get him out of, because this guy is unstoppable. I'm like, that guy was so good. So good. So I just needed to have enough size to stop the line of scrimmage from moving. And I couldn't give up any space. And I also knew that no one had seen it. And it was going to be one of those calls where I was going to make them panic. Like, they were going to panic. I wasn't sure what they were going to do. We knew, that they would have a check, which they did. We knew we'd kind of get him into that throw, the rub route. So I draw it all up. I get it ready to go. We go down. Remember, we practice like 3 days before we leave, and then we go. And I kind of told everybody, I'm like, look, we're going to put this in as soon as we get down there. But I wanted the week to really work through all the problems. Like, that's just kind of my problem solving. I wasn't going to give it to the guys and then change it. So we get down to Arizona, and, I put it in, and I kind of had the guys in the right spot that I thought. We practiced it. Now, we ran that pick route. We ran it like, of course, Ernie did the cards, but like, that was like one of those cards. I'm like, we need to see this card. Like, this is
Boyce did this
what
5 times in practice.
We did it. We did. And the thing was, everybody saw it. Like, it wasn't the same guy every time seeing it. We ran all the combinations. So we get into the game, or we get to the end of the week of practice, and I looked at it and I was like, there's something here I don't really like. I need to move. I switched Jamie, I switched him, I switched High, I kind of moved somebody up, and I kind of switched it after we practiced it like the last day, and we kind of just walked through it, and I was like, all right, because it was really about stopping the run. Like, I was going to stop the run, and really the combination with it to that side was the snag 7 flat. I didn't worry about the other side because we knew what that was. So practice it, changed it at the last minute. I was like, okay, like, it's ready. I'm going to need this. And it's literally written, it's like 3 letters in the bottom right-hand corner of the call sheet. It's like the most tiniest call on the sheet. So we get into the game. We had talked about how tough this game was going to be. The first play of the game is my favorite play of the game. Like, you watch the defensive guys, because we knew their offensive line looked to clean the pile. Yeah. So as soon as Lynch got the ball, they were coming to take people out. And I was like, look, we're going to tackle this dude in the first play of the game. I'm like, but as soon as he's down, everybody else go find someone. Go find someone and go knock their heads off, because they're not doing that to us. And to the point of, like, one of my favorite compliments of all time, and it was probably in the 12 era, was Chris Berman, who's a great guy, great friend, came up to me and he said to me, you have the best tackling corners in the NFL. And I was like, if our corners tackle at a high level, the whole team's going to tackle at a high level. I took so much pride in that. So in that first play of the Super Bowl in 2014, we tackle Lynch. Everyone turns and looks and starts to take dudes out. And like, Revis is like, he's going to get like one of the biggest linemen, their tackles they had that's coming. So I'm like, okay, like, we're on this, right? Like, we're coming. So we get into the second half, and, going into halftime, we were struggling with some coverage matches, right? And they scored right before half. I was hot. Yeah. I was hot. This was a bad series, a bad play. So I am literally, I'm like, we're changing, like, I'm switching some guys up. Malcolm's going to come in, the whole deal. So get into the second half, and it was kind of back and forth, right? Like, they were moving, we were moving. It was like, the defenses in the Super Bowl get worn out. It's just what happens. If you can control it early, you have a chance. But, if you're playing, like, those games are long. And if you're moving the ball or in the first half, the second half, you're worried about, how well is the defense going to hold up. It's going to be, be a shootout. So both teams are moving the ball, and I was like, oh man, this is, we got to get one stop in the red area. We'll be okay. So it's a series going away from, like, the last play of the game is on the left. So it's a series going to the right end zone. And 3rd and 2. So I call a call. It's one of stack back or left. So the idea of the call was, we're going to walk up on the edge. The defensive end, who's now Ninkovich, he's going to crash down hard, and he's going to take out Lynch, and then the backer's coming off for the quarterback. So call stack back or left, 3rd and 2. Rob goes in and nails Lynch, and we stop him on 3rd and 2. So I was like, we just stopped him on a nickel defense, really 2 yards, giving the ball to Lynch. Like, that's pretty. So I'm like, okay, that's going to change. That's going to change what they're doing right now. So we get the last drive. They hit, they're coming down. They hit the big play down the far sideline. It's on the opposite side. The rule change, Duran jumps over the pile. It falls. He catches it. Now, again, I'm sitting here 2014, 7 years later, in the same stadium, in the Super Bowl, where David Tyree, who I coached in college, who was a special teams, didn't catch anything in college, catches this thing, right? And I'm like, holy F, did that just happen again? I was just like,
Great play by Malcolm too.
I was like,
on the seam. We're talking about the seam where he tipped it and Curse ended up doing the back thing.
Malcolm's great. There's a great play that Malcolm makes on third down earlier where he goes up and through the pocket and then rips the near hand and gets the ball out. There's a big play in that game earlier to kind of get him off the field to get the ball back to the offense. But so now they line up on him. I click into Hyde. I'm like, they're gonna run it, man. Like, and now I'm looking at Hyde's got one arm. I'm like, they're gonna run it. We were stuck in the defense, and he makes that's an unbelievable tackle.
Yeah.
Unbelievable tackle. One
Second
arm
down.
Gets him down. So now the clock is moving. So I know the situation, and so it's one of those moments where really like the clock, like life slowed down for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly how long the seconds were, but for me, it felt like a half hour. So I know the call I want to make. I'm hearing 11 personnel going in the game, and I slide over next to Bill because I wasn't going to put it out there and let them call timeout. I didn't want them to see. No one had seen this. And then so I slid next to Bill and I was like, hey, are you calling the timeout? And he's staring. He's just staring across the field. And I'm like, Bill, are you calling the timeout? And he's not saying anything to me. And I was like, hey, I need to know because I'm not putting this out there. Are you calling the timeout? And he's like, yeah, just make your call. And I was like, okay. So I click on it. I'm like, hey, goal line 3 corner, get it out. Make sure we got Malcolm. So like I'm down with Bill. Everyone's else down the sideline. So I hear Flo. He's like, Malcolm. He's like screaming because we had changed the coverages. So like later, I'm talking to Bill. I was like, what were you watching? He's like, well, I was watching Pete. He's like, and I'm watching their offense trying to figure out, like, they put the personnel, could they sub? He was watching, and then once we put goal line, he knew we subbed it so late, they weren't going to be able to change. They were going to go to the check. So we were just waiting it out to see who could get it out there last. And I was like, because the helmet communication shuts off. So they weren't going to be able to check the play to Russ. So we get goal line. So they just see goal line. We're signaling goal line. So goal line's going out. Well, automatically to them, they're like, all right, well, we're going to throw. Wait, I have like 6,000 pounds of flesh, like sitting there. I have like Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, Branch, Vince. This is like a 18-wheeler out there. Yeah. Like, I understand, like, just give the ball to Lynch, but like we had just stopped them on, like, these are like some of the best players in the NFL right there.
Yeah.
So I was like, they're going to panic. They're going to throw it. I was worried about the snag 7 flat. So that was built. So I watched them build. So I'm watching in my end, I'm watching the left side, and I'm like watching them build. They bring the receiver over.
You think that the rub is all good?
We're good on the rub. Like, they're going to go to the snag 7 flat. They got to have a play to the other side. They're going to pick the linebacker. So I'm like, I'm on with High. I go, hey, make sure you don't get picked here. I'm like, Lynch is going to, this is going to be snag 7 flat to your side. So I'm watching the left side of the offense, the right side of the defense, and ball snapped, and I look, and it's snag 7 flat, and we get picked. Chandler's peeling late because he had the peel call. He had the from the high. I'm like, give Chan the call. So Chan's peeling late, but if it was a good throw, I was like, this is going to be a touchdown. And I look, and I'm like, and then they pick the linebacker. So I'm on the headset, and I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm like, all right, it's not the run. I'm like, yeah, we're going to get the snag 7 flat. I'm like, oh my God, they picked him. And then everyone starts screaming. They're like, no, he picked it. And I'm like, who picked what? I didn't even see the play.
Oh my.
I didn't even see the play on the other side.
God.
I was so worried because the guy's open in the flat. So everyone's going crazy. And I'm like, what? I don't even know what. I'm like, what happened? Obviously, the best part of the story is Browner, who I love. Yeah. Browner is the one who we're going in half. He's like, Browner knew that personnel so good. He's like, put me here, put them there, right? So to be a good coach, the best thing you can do is just listen to your best players, listen to your smart players. So that was the matchups that we did. But when they built the stack, Browner looks at Malcolm and goes, listen, I'm going to choke the shit out of him. You just go. And if you watch the play, he's literally got his hands around his neck.
Yeah.
And then Malcolm just goes. So I didn't see any of that. I'm like, we got picked. Everyone's like, no, he picked it. I'm like, who? I didn't even know we had the ball.
Yeah.
So that was like chaos is going on. So now, again, I'm nervous because I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, the ball's like on the inch line here.
No safety.
Like right. So I'm like, they're going to get the ball back. I'm going through situational plays. No one wants to listen to me because I'm like, what are we going to do? What are we putting out there? Because I'm panicked. Like, we're going to be back on the field. And obviously, we get the thing, the game's end. And I turn around and Revis is running at me and he jumps. And I like catch him. Like, do you know how thick Revis is?
Revis thick?
His lower.
2C thick.
This is what he was so good. He was so strong. So he cracks my back. So at the end of the Super Bowl, I crack my back, like in the celebration, because he jumps up on me. I didn't care. Like, who cares?
No.
Like, who cares, right? Doesn't matter. Stevie B's running around me everybody's freaking out. It was like amazing. Malcolm's still crying.
I think I choked out Josh.
Yeah, it was like total chaos. My best play. If you watch the coach's copy of that tape, if you watch the end zone copy, because again we had the extended end zone because we watched the celebration and all that stuff. In the back of the end zone is the Seattle mascot. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. He's standing there, and you can see him as right before the snap. You can see him. You can just see his face, his expression isn't changing. You can see him. He's like, we're about to go back to back. We're about to hand this thing to Lynch. We're about to score. And they snap the ball, and you see him freeze, and then the ball's picked, and he just takes his hands and he puts his hand on the front of his beak, and he stands there like this, and he doesn't move, and you can just see him like, what the hell just happened? It's the funniest shit ever. I'm just telling you, it's hysterical. And he doesn't move. Like, there's chaos going on. He doesn't move for like 5 minutes. He's just standing there. It's amazing. But
you know what's crazy? That's not the first time a coach has pointed out a stand thing.
Oh, we watch the stands all the time.
Because they watch so much film.
So much film. You got to do
with
something.
Bill and them. So they sit there. Chatty O would come in there like, look at this guy pour a beer on this guy in this play.
My favorite every year. I'd watch.
What the fuck, Chad?
I would watch. It's true that every year there's a guy in Buffalo, and every scoreboard he sits in the right corner of the stadium, and it would be the middle of December. He's got no shirt on. He's got a big beer belly, and he looks kind of like he's got long gray hair.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and every year he's there, and I always check. I'm like, he's still there.
Same guy.
No shirt. It's middle of or in New Orleans where the scoreboard there'd always be a crew that and Halloween would dress in costumes and sit above the score. So you're looking
always.
for stuff always. But the mascot in the end zone of that thing, it's really, we had an extension. It's one of the most amazing things. But that play, how that was put together, the game, the halftime, the fact that it was like, I can't believe we're going to install this. This is like 6 years he'd been asking. I'm like, nope, here it is. We need it. We're going to have it right now. And put that in a week and have that thing go out was that was crazy. And honestly, that whole defensive year, give that Vince Wilfork and I sat down because he wanted to win again. He was unbelievable, man. His leadership, his guidance of hey, let's do this. We gave the defensive guys a book. We read Legacy, the All Blacks, and we put all our words together and just kind of all the way through the season. The night before the Super Bowl, I kind of read it to the defense again and hey, this is what we said we were going to do. And, when you win the Super Bowl, I think that was the year I kind of told him the trophy, what it's like to hold the trophy, and it's heavy at the top. And it was kind of the thing, the story. And I explained to him how, when we won in 2004 and being able to hold the trophy and what that's like. And just all of that expression and Vince leading the charge. And, we tell him you win a Super Bowl, you're bonded for life. You're bonded for life. It doesn't matter where you are, when it is. Anybody on those teams call you, you are bonded for life. I have a great picture of you. I was actually just looking at it the other day. It's you and Rob and Chan after the White House. You guys are walking down the side of the bus. It's just the three of you. And I snapped it. I think you got a lipper out to here and the whole deal. We were just been in the White, and it's it's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
But that play, the time, it was just one of those moments in life where just time stopped for me.
Yeah.
And I just here we go. And we're gonna do this. It's gonna be crazy.
It just hit me. 2 of the last couple plays, one on defense and one on offense, other than when we were running out the clock, were adjustments added after practices, after all our prep was done. Yeah. My return route.
Yeah, right.
We added that on Saturday night.
Yep. In the hotel,
goal line.
Yeah, goal line 3 corner.
3 corner.
Yep.
Added after practice.
Yep. Had to adjust it.
But that shows you how smart our coaches were to understand that we needed to put that in, and how smart the players were to be able to execute it without a rep of practice.
That's right. It's not us. It's you guys. It's
But
you.
still,
It's you
like
guys.
having knowing that we may need this, and it comes down to it.
Yeah.
That happened a lot of times in my career.
But how fast you guys process and put that stuff together, man? Like it's amazing. Like I just, look, I'm just lucky to be there and kind of help and do whatever I can to give you guys a chance to go play and execute. But watch you guys do that up close, man. That is a treat that, I'll have with me forever, thankfully.
That was the Chill Zone, thanks to our favorite beer, Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/GWN. Celebrate responsibly.
I just remember one of the things in New England, like you listen to a lot of like coaches, right? And it's like, oh, hay's in the barn. And I used to walk in and be like, listen, there's no hay, there's no barn. Like we are working until we win.
Yeah.
And we will keep working until the game is over and we have won. That is it. And that was just the mindset that we always had.
Now, I can see that for the coaches, but sometimes you have to put that on. You have to say that to the player.
Yeah.
Because the physical work.
Yeah.
The mental work.
That's Pizza Friday.
We're good.
Pizza Fridays.
You can't give us no more physical work.
But that was Pizza Friday.
Yeah.
Pizza Friday was shutting it down. But we always, you guys, listen, the edge that you guys had is that you did keep working from the time, like most teams, Friday at 1 o'clock, they're out. Yeah. Everybody's home. Like that's 48 hours before the game. You guys stayed sharp all the way up into the game.
Yeah.
And that's the walkthroughs in the hotel. Like I know I watched the walkthroughs in the hotels, the meeting. Look, we all tried to do it in different ways. Sometimes it was a meeting and we just rolled through calls. But the sharpness that you guys were going to the game, the confidence that instilled that you guys brought to the table, it's unbelievable, man.
Yeah. I mean, I always say it, the Patriot way with everyone always, what is that? I go, well, the coaches had a template. They had the laws, and they picked certain players to be sheriffs to go make those laws enforced.
You know what was really easy for us, though, was if you, like I would stand back all the time and I would watch Bill, or I'd say to Bill, I'd watch the team, and I'd be like, it was a herd, right? The team moved in a herd. And every once in a while, you'd look and you'd see like, man, that guy's not in the herd anymore. Like, what's going on? And if you just watched the team, you guys told us everything we needed to know on who you trusted and who could go out on the field and help us win. If you just watched, you guys did it probably without even knowing it. But if you just watched, you'd be like, okay, we're really good here. Like, we got to look at that. There's something off over there.
Yeah.
So, but 2014, crazy. The 2016.
The Hightower sack. What do you got on that?
Yeah, I mean, same call. Isn't that crazy? Stack back or left. Same call I just talked about with Ninkovich. It was the same call, but let me go back. So this is you. So obviously, we're in a lot of 5 down. We're playing, really good offense. It's coming at us fast. We're struggling on defense, right?
Yeah, this is one of the highest scoring offenses in the history of the league.
Yeah, offensive MVP, best coordinator with Shanny, coordinator of the year.
Everything.
Yeah, lost. Okay. So coordinator of the year, best off, all that stuff, right? So off first half isn't going good. I'm trying to make adjustments. It's long. And then this is another one of those weird things, right? So the night before the game, we got extra time. So I'm like, hey, let's watch this game. Let's watch this game. Let's watch this game. So I had watched the Chargers game and I was like, I need to show this game. So it was the night before the game. I sat down with the defense and I said, listen, I go, this offense can score points. I go, but if we just play the game all the way out, I go, we'll be okay. I said, look at this game. So the Chargers in that year got down early. They got down big. But as you watch the game. To Atlanta. As you watch the game, they just started chipping away. Second half, chipping away. And then they scored. And then they stopped them. And then they turned the ball over. And it got all the way down to the end of the game. And the Chargers actually kicked a field goal and won the game.
Yeah.
They came back from it. It was a big deficit. It was good, kind of like, I was like, I'm going to show this game. So I remember, before the first half ended, I was like, all right, we got to go in this locker room. We got to remind everybody, like, we're okay here. There's another half of this game. And we just saw on tape how they, there's a window here. So we go in the locker room. First thing, you do, because the halftime's longer. I'm like, all right, everybody do what you got to do. I take a couple seconds. And I just got the defense. I said, listen, here's what we're going to do. I'm like, Julio is ridiculous. Like, we had the whole like, oh, he's injured. He can't play it off his right foot. He's only going to be able to break left. No, no. He could break wherever he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to, because I was cheating alignments based on that injury information.
Yeah.
I was like, don't worry about it. And then again, we megged the backside of cover 2. We undercut him. I think it was Logan, and he reached up over the top of Logan and took the in cut. And I was like, oh shit, we got a problem. So yeah, so that was in the first half, it was like first series of the game or whatever. So we go into the locker room. I said, listen, we're going to all the red area calls. I said, we're going to play the red area calls. These are the calls we're going to do. Went through the staff. Go back to the players. And I said, fellas, listen, I go, first of all, first half, here's the issues. This is what happened. I go, remember what we watched last night. I was like, the Charger game. I'm like, we're going to come back and win this thing. I'm like, we are going to be fine. Like, we just go play every single down. We got it. We put ourselves in a hole, but we got to play every single snap. These are the calls we're going to make. I go, you got to believe right now because we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And what was happening was Duran was on the bike. You remember this?
No.
Duran was on the bike and he was trying to stay warm. And so I let the players, I get done with my meeting and the players are going to the coaches, and Duran starts chirping. He starts chirping. He's like, we got it. Like and I was like, you could feel the energy and you could feel the belief. And then all of a sudden you come in and you're like, we got to go. And you start chirping with Duran, and you guys are chirping back and forth and the energy's building. And I remember walking out, I was like, holy fuck, we're going to win this game. And I just, because I don't know where you came from. I don't know why you were on our side.
I don't either.
And Duran was like chirping, and it was like, you two are chirping at each other. And it was almost like, I don't know if you were trying to pump us up or he was trying to pump you up or whatever it was, but it was just, it built. And I was like, I walked down, I was like, holy shit, we're going to win this game. And I told him before we went out, I said, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get a negative play on the first run. They're going to run the ball. I'm like, hi, if they run it at you, this is a TFL. I'm like, the first third down, they're not going to throw. We're going to double over here. It's coming backside. It'll be 3-by-1. You got to make the play. It was Eric made the play on the backside. So the very first series, they had the ball, TFL on the first play. They run it to high. Third down, they throw it to Eric. It was like 3rd and long because we had put him in long yard situation. We break it up to come inside, and I go, here we go. It's going to happen. So we go through the game, and what happened was the series, they're going left to right. So they're going that way in the end zone. 2nd down run, Coleman is in the game. Coleman was the 3rd down back.
Yeah.
Freeman was the early down back. So Coleman comes in, hands it off, and I look, and he's on the ground, and he's injured. Screwed up his ankle. And I remember watching, I was like, it's 3rd down. Coleman's out. And I clicked on, I said, hey, hi. I said, hi. Listen, I said, Coleman's out. Freeman's in. I go, we're going stack back or left. I go, don't show it. I go, walk late. I go, he'll never see you. I go get the ball, scoop. We got to score, bro. I go, you got this right now. It was one of those like, Coleman got hurt. It clicked in my head. Freeman was in there. He was going to miss the protection. Don't show it. Walk up late. We're coming right at him, and we're about to score. We didn't score. I thought we were going to score.
Yeah.
But I was like, so I'm on with high the whole time. I go, wait. And I can see the quarterback give Freeman the mic point. And I can see him scan, right? Because he's got the mic and he's got scan. And he sees high inside. And then high, he goes outside. I go all the way outside the bunch. He walked all the way outside the bunch, and he comes ripping off the edge. And I was like,
no one even there.
I was like, no one even sees him. And he stripped it. I think Branch recovered it.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought we were going to scoop and score. But it was the same call as Rob called in 2014. Rob stopped him on the 3rd and short.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where it was like, it just clicked in my head. It was like, Freeman's out. They're going to screw up the 3rd down protection. Let's go get him. So that was the turnover, which really then, now we're feeling it.
Then we had the Trey Flowers sack.
So then later in the game, now they're driving. They throw, Julio's right there. I was with Julio last year. He's like the best, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, how far out of bounds did you reach? The little ball is literally 10 yards out of bounds. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the coach's, it's past me, and he catches this thing. And everyone's on the headset. It's like, he's out. I'm like literally looking at his feet. I'm like, he's not out. I'm like, he just caught it.
Yeah.
So now they're in field goal range. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm like, hey, Dev, we got to blitz. So blitz Dev, get the TFL. And so now it's 2nd and long. So everyone's like, they're going to run it again. They're going to run it again. And some of my head was like, they're not going to run it. They're going to throw. And I'm arguing on the headsets with Bill. And he's like, they're going to run it. I'm like, they're not going to run it. I'm like, they're the quarterback of the year. Like, the offensive coordinator of the year. Like, they're throwing the ball all over the place. I'm like, they're going to throw it again. Like, they're going to get in their own way here. I'm like, so I actually called a 3-man rush because I wanted to have max coverage, but it was a 5-down look. But as they lined up, I look, and now I got Jabal, who's great, sheared. He's on the outside. But now I'm like, oh shit, it's the wheel route. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, this is about to be a touchdown. Yeah. And so sure enough, back, I think it was Freeman, he releases, I see Jabal, he's peeling on the wheel. I was like, oh my, like, here we go. And Trey just, because I put him on the nose, because of his quickness and his length, and I knew that they would
Alex
struggle.
Mack was hurt.
Yeah, he had the ankle, and I knew he was going to struggle with the redirect. And Trey's arms were so long, he could get into you, and he was skinny, and he just skinnied through, and he gets in, and he sacks him, and I was like, he saved my life, right? So then what happens is on that play, it was that one or the next one, Hightower, he's on, I think it was Long, on the other side, and Hightower gets held, totally buried. And they didn't call it. And I see High talking to the official, and I was like, they're going to call holding. I was like, so it's third down. So I'm like, hey, High, go again. So he rushes again. Flag comes out. I was like, pushing them back and forth. I'm like, I don't know how the hell. Like, you just see that stuff. So then, again, the whole thing was they weren't in control of the game. We were controlling the game. We were running. We were stopping the run now. And now we got to cover a kick. And those guys made it unbelievable. They pin them deep late in the game. And I remember clicking on, we stopped them on first time. I remember clicking on to Bill and I go, hey, we're about to win the Super Bowl and the craziest rule that no one's ever seen before. I'm like, be ready for a free kick. Because I was like, if they don't get any more yardage, I'm like, we're going to fair catch this thing and we're going to win the Super Bowl. It's going to be crazy. I think they got like 7, put us out just out of it, and they kicked it out. And then
I was thinking walk-off. Because I went down to return the punt.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there like, all right, man, if I fucking walk this off, man, I'm going to have the
if
fucking,
it's
going to be the best
it's going to be
thing
unbelievable. So then, we go to overtime.
Didn't though happen. We tried some other shit. Remember we tried the Gamecock?
Bro, he blew his hamstring out. That was so bad.
Gamecock was like the annexation of Puerto Rico play for us, where the guy, like a fumble-rooski, give it to this guy.
Fake kneel, hand it over. And
fucking,
yeah.
That was a crazy game.
That was great. So then we win.
Yeah.
It's bananas. So we go through all the thing. I get on the bus, right? So I get on the bus. Tommy's in the back. It's Josh, Laura, myself, Raina, Bill. Tommy's in the back. And I'm literally like, did we win? Like, I don't even know what happened. And Josh is looking at me, he goes, hey, bro, he goes, I didn't see any of the defense. I go, I didn't see one play of the offense. It was because every series was like, this has to go right, then this has to. So your catch, I didn't see that till the next day. I was like, I didn't see any of that happen during the game. And Josh was like, what happened to you? And I'm like, bro, we got the stack back or left call. He's like, you should see this catch Julian made. And then we ran this. And Josh and I are trying to fill each other in because I'm like, I don't even know if we won. And Bill turns around and he's like, hey, look, he goes, listen, he goes, we got to play these guys next year. It's probably going to be like the first game of the year. They'll probably do that. When we get back, let's make sure we write down like what was good. I'm like, I don't even know if we won, Bill. I'm like, we literally on the bus. I'm like, what are you talking about right now? I'm like,
no days off, Matty P.
I was like, holy crap.
We're
Josh
on to 2017.
Josh and I just looked at each other and started laughing. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even know if we won the game.
When was the moment you knew we were going to win 51? When was the real? You're saying right out the locker room at halftime.
I did. I was like, we're gonna win this game.
I was just trying to be a rah-rah guy, man. Like,
you were.
It's gonna be a hell of a story, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, hey man, but you gotta fucking believe.
But you picked the right guy to talk to because Duran was in that mode. I was so blessed to be around great guys, and there's so many, but it was unreal. Yeah. Obviously, my Amendola, I got to bring him up. Right?
Of course, Italians love Italians.
The same thing I had with Welker. It was like, I said to Bill, I was like, we played Welker one year at Miami, and Orlando Mari, who played at Syracuse, pulls his calf in warm up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Orlando just pulled his calf. And then I'm looking, I'm like, Wes Welker is kicking. Wes Welker kicked off, kicked field goals, extra points, caught like 130 yards on me. I was like, we got done with the game. I was like, hey, Bill, can we trade for this guy? Because I don't think I want to cover this guy anymore.
Yeah.
This guy is brutal. So we traded. So the same thing, we're getting Amendola. I was like, I don't want to game plan you, man. Like, can we just get you over here on this side and let's just go?
Look at they all went out car shopping when they had the car in the garage already.
So we had a good bottle of tequila.
They had the real car in the garage though already.
Listen, we're trying to get as many as possible, So Amendola and I love that dude.
I wanted to kill you all when you signed Amendola.
Do you know how much of a better player you became?
I know, but I still wanted to murder you.
Good. You should.
I think that's what Bill liked too. Bill used to sign me these contracts where he knew it was enough to make me satisfied, but also enough to piss me off.
Listen, you and me both. He did that with all of us. It's like trying to negotiate a coaching contract in there. Hey, Bill, I don't think I should. Don't you think we should do a little bit more here? He's like, yeah, no. All right, I'm just gonna keep drawing plays.
The no's are real.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's the beauty of Bill is like, it was more intellectual than it was. Like I've been around coaches just like berate you, right?
Oh, yeah.
And eventually you're like, all right, like I'm good. But it was the intellectual mind bombs that would go off later and you're like, what did he just say right there?
Yeah, he would give. He would leave you with
2
the
hours later,
cliffhanger.
you're like, son of a, what did he say? The thing like you guys wouldn't see is like we would go on road trips and, we'd have the bus drivers and stuff and like everybody be on the plane, Bill be out there like giving them cash. He'd be like tipping all the bus drivers and like making sure that they were okay or, just that was all the stuff where.
He has a heart.
Killing me,
I love
bro.
it.
Killing me, bro.
Let's name the game, Matty P. Now, these are the names that we came up with.
Sterling Steel.
The Sterling Steel.
Sterling Steel, I thought was a good
The
one.
I like that
Sterling
alliteration.
Steel.
Yeah.
There it is.
See, he's a fucking aeronautical engineer.
Bro.
I got it. Score of the game. Is this the greatest game of all time? Let's score it. Matty P. 0 to 10.
I mean,
decimals okay. What are the
Yeah,
stakes?
I love this game. It is an AFC Championship game,
It is.
so it's definitely above a 7.
It is above a
Hard
7.
to put it above a 9 because it's not a championship game. So I'm probably in the 8. What are we doing for decimals here?
They're all okay.
8.2.
8.2. See, fucking Matty P did his goddamn homework. Probably watched about 15 of our shows, just the grading.
You know I don't
He
sleep.
probably
Rookie scores here.
situationally watched this show. All right, he's gonna. All right, let me see what the intro's like. All right, let me see what the interview's like. All right, let's do the score segment. Okay, this is what they do in the. All right, yeah, Mavericks owner, he too much. Let me see.
Yeah.
I would say an 8 flat. 8 flat.
At a 9-3.
I had an
Jeez.
8-7.
Hi.
High.
The other thing about this game, this was a start of us turning it around. We had gone through a couple years of rebuilding, and then we had the young guys that maybe had a couple years in. We were still going to add some pieces. We knew we had to add some pieces, but it was the start of what would become a very long, great run. And again, if you think about it, 2010, like we had a really good defense. 2010, like we played, but we weren't the best team. But again, like
We were young still on the offense.
Young. And we were building on defense.
Yeah.
We hadn't started drafting all the defensive guys yet. We had a couple, but 2001, right, to me is kind of like 2011. 2001 starts a run of 10 years of like unbelievable. Like 2011 started a run of like unbelievable play. Man. It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Star power.
This is
0
one
to 10.
I struggle with because again, the beauty of this game to me is that I think the star power is low on our side. Their side, I think it was high. I mean, look, we got
Bolden.
Tom Brady, so like that trumps all of it, right? Like that makes all of it. You're young at this point, so young
defense.
Gronk can play.
Wasn't me
So
yet.
I think that's why I love the game is because the star power is kind of low, kind of scrappy,
Yeah.
kind of gritty, kind of like but winners.
Yeah.
They just not now. If you take where they went to, where all you guys went to, star power is out the chain. So if you grade it at the time, it's low. If you grade it now, we're in the 9s.
Yeah.
A lot of really good names on that.
Oh,
field.
really good.
So
But
I
at
grade
the
it
time-
current. At the time, that's why I was trying to get a little clarity because I'd like this one to be up there a little bit. I don't want to be in like that 54 range or whatever that was I saw last time on this thing, right? So I'm just saying, overall. So I was trying to bump it up to like current would be like a 9.4. That would be current. Where it was during the time, say it's probably an 8
8.
for us.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 first ballot Hall of Fame coaches.
Oh, we're including coaches?
It's
Yeah,
star power.
everyone
There's
in the
people in
building.
the stands. Who's
Steven
in the
Tyler?
crowd?
Oh God, Steven Tyler with the
Steven
scarf.
Tyler was there.
I had to go like find the lady that made that so my wife could get one and stuff.
Yeah,
like, roll
I
that.
mean, there's a lot.
All right, I'm
But
gonna bump,
that's
can
an
I bump
integrity
my-
score.
Yeah,
Can
you
I
can
bump
bump
mine
it.
up?
Yeah.
You can bump it up.
I mean, you're 2 Hall of Fame coaches.
All right.
Steven Tyler, it's pretty big.
This is
cool.
real big. Potentially more Hall of Fame coaches because
Walk
there's
this
still a lot of meat on a
way.
lot of careers. A lot of meat on those bones for a lot of these guys.
Too nice. You're too 8-9.
8-9.
Can't go 9. 8-9.
I'll go 8-5.
Talked you into that.
I went 9-1.
I did
Jeez, Jackie.
8-8.
I'm going high.
Are
baby.
you? See,
That's what I'm
Jackie
talking about.
glazes Patriot games.
I do. I'm a homer. I am an unabashed homer.
I love it.
The
Should be.
gameplay of this game, Matty P. Back forth.
Yeah.
How it's
A lot of
looked
field
at.
goals.
I mean, this game.
Lot of
was-
field
I
goals.
know, but like I know people don't like field goals. People want touchdowns. But when you're calling defense, that is stressful.
Yeah.
This is there's some stressful back and forth here. There's back-to-back turnovers. We picked it off. They picked it off. I'm like, oh, you
Yeah.
think you're good, and you're not
Spikes.
good, and then
And we
you
throw
know
a
what I
shot
mean?
to Slate.
Slate. That's right. So the back and forth in this, the stress level of this game, was pretty good. There's a lot riding it. You put, what we're playing for, Myra Craft, all the rest of it. I was stressed. This one was stressful. This was a 9-1 for me.
9-1.
Nice.
For me, there's,
You could just get a lock combo in this one. I'm sure there was probably less.
we got receivers playing fucking DB in this game. Do you think the gameplay is going to be flawless? I mean, this is Jesus Christ. What do we do? I'm gonna go 8-8 because it still was. It was an exciting fucking game, and it's Baltimore.
We missed the field. Baltimore. We hated each other.
Hated it, and they came into our stadium and beat our ass the last time in the playoffs.
Yep.
I went 8-9.
I went 8-5. Missing a kick at the end of a game always is a little bit of a detractor for me.
Giants won a Super Bowl doing that.
I don't know. And then they didn't have a good gameplay score.
Wide right.
Missing it, blocking a field goal, all that stuff, I think is just because they missed doesn't mean they didn't affect the kick. Don't think the rush didn't affect the kick.
Okay.
Don't think the
Why do you
stadium.
think-
You
Why
might
do you
be
think-
convincing me on that.
Don't
You
think
might be
that
convincing me
making
on
us
that.
make them kick it in the closed end zone late in the year when the pattern of the wind goes from the open lighthouse across the field to their side, and the kicker is going to overcorrect for that, and the wind dies right before.
And then
it
you
kicks
put the rush to the right so that he has to get it away
it.
from
Here
the
it comes.
rush.
Yeah.
I'm going to move it up. I'm
We
going
would
to
go
move.
to stadiums, and I'd be like, all right, what flag am I watching? Because you couldn't watch the uprights. So there's every stadium we had a list of what flag in that stadium was going to tell me the true direction of the wind.
Wow.
Yep.
So who's the flag scouter? Like who did we hire on the staff to
Who's the flag
scout
guy?
out which flag is the wind flag?
Scotty O.
Scotty O.
He was all in. We'd be calling other teams like, hey, what flag are we watching for the, like, hey, we're just trying to, do everything.
The more you
anything
can
we
do.
could to win.
Where you can
We
do.
had the Buffalo wind. I mean, because that was crazy over there.
I played the night before in 2008. You're talking about the 2008 wind.
2008
where
was
you had the
ridiculous. Those
So I
four
played-
weather games were the most amazing things I've ever been a part of.
I played the Saturday before you guys played in my last college game at Buffalo.
Did you really? That's
against
awesome.
Buffalo.
That's awesome.
And that
fact.
wind, that crazy wind game where you didn't throw. Remember?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the Mac Jones one, the one in 2008.
No. 2008 was the most amazing win I've ever seen. I'm
That
20
was like
years in the NFL.
60 mile an hour
They had
gusts.
chains. They had chains holding the uprights
Yeah.
from just ripping off. I literally told the DBs, I said, listen, because the wind was blowing across the field to their sideline. I said, play the top of the numbers as the sideline. That's it. I go move everything inside. They're not going to be able to throw it outside.
That was gnarly.
It was
remember that.
unreal.
I changed my score to 8-6. I was convinced.
Liked it.
That might be a first in the
know.
history.
I know.
And Matty P, lastly, to top it off, we had to score the name of the game,
Yeah.
which you came up with the fucking killer little name that
I kind of like it.
I love
the
it.
Sterling Steel
Sterling
game.
Steel, man. This is like a guy's legacy right here. We're talking about a dude's legacy. Sterling Steel.
Fucking Sterling.
Made
Sterling
him
Moore.
some money. Got us to the Super Bowl.
He definitely
pretty
made a
tight.
couple ducats off
Yeah,
of it.
that's pretty tight right here. Got
He's
a whole,
coaching right now, I think.
whole
Is he?
highlight. Yeah, whole highlight on ESPN for him. This is a 9-5 for me. That's a good name.
9-5. Sterling Steel game. I'm going to go with an 8-2. 8-2.
That's low.
Well, I mean, you got to think about this, Matt.
I think about it.
We did the immaculate reception culturally. We're talking about
We're
that
not even
game.
sure if he caught it.
Huh?
We're not even sure if he caught
We
it.
didn't. We're not. But we know that game from 1970 something, and it's 50 years past. 50
What
years.
did you give that one?
High.
Pretty high.
Okay, so go a little bit lower.
I went 7-3
No,
or low.
I didn't go high. I gave that one maybe like a 9.
Really? What's
Yeah.
a 10?
There's no you played for Coach Belichick. There's no perfect game. I won a Super Bowl MVP and I almost had a perfect play call out sheet, but I still remember 3 plays that
yeah.
keep me up at
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
So it wasn't a perfect game. Like when you eat a burger, have you ever had a 10 burger? And if you're telling me yes, then
I've definitely eaten some 9-5 burgers.
9-5. It's
I've
like
probably eaten
what
a-
knock you off your socks. Like
I've
you'll
probably-
go back.
I've eaten 9-9
A
burgers.
7-5 will bring you back.
7-5 will bring you back. Yeah.
So anything in 9s is like, oh my God, what the you're talking about
Hey,
it
don't talk me
publicly.
down. I'm trying to talk you up.
All right.
It's this cultural impact.
Can I get a retraction?
You can change it, Jack.
Break
You
it?
want to?
All right. Let's go.
I did an 8.1.
I'm going to go
Terry,
8-4.
Terry Bradshaw did a 10 even on the Immaculate Reception. He might be biased.
He should.
With my retraction, we're going 8-4.
All right, what does that put us?
This is going to be high.
Oh,
All right,
baby.
8.69 puts us right here, 10th. It's just ahead of the Statue of Liberty game, the 2007 Fiesta
Yes.
Bowl,
I mean,
Boise
it's
State versus
college
Oklahoma,
football.
and just behind the 1999 Women's World Cup, China USA.
This is the diving board to the
Yep.
next generation of the dynasty. This 2011 team, this hardship that we had to learn the next 2 weeks later, whatever.
The leadership you guys learned. You know, like again, like remember like all the young guys that came in, like you guys had ginormous shoes to fill.
Oh yeah.
Ginormous shoes.
You think I loved hearing about fucking the other Patriots?
Yeah.
I wanted to win Super Bowls just so Bill could stop talking about Teddy Bruschi,
But that's
Troy
the-
Brown.
Don't you think that was the brilliance of it?
100%.
I mean, like my linebacker room, like Teddy Bruschi, Mike
Kevin
Vrabel,
Falk.
Junior Seau, Willie McGinnis,
Yeah.
Roosevelt Colvin, Adelius Thomas, Larry Izzo.
But it motivated
Chad Brown.
me to want to say, I want to make our stamp on it.
Yeah.
So like it was a great motivation factor.
Yep.
Because you love the guys to death and you respect them because they were always around. But like we wanted to be something.
Yeah.
You know, you wanted to be in that level.
You after
And
this
so
game,
that was like a shooting star that you were looking at.
yeah, you guys grew.
But they went back to back. We never did.
close.
Fucking bullshit.
Still three. Still got three.
Yeah. We still got 3.
Back to back we won 21 in a row. You know how hard that was? 21 games in a row. We didn't
21
lose
games.
until it was Halloween. It was Halloween in Pittsburgh, 2004. So 21 in a row. Like you haven't lost in 21 games in the NFL. That's crazy.
Man.
We're at the end here
Yeah.
because I got something.
What do you got?
Something.
Well, before that, did we miss anything from this game?
Okay, thank you. The guys that were out there and like I said, I've been waiting like 10 years to get an offensive guy on the defensive field.
My fucking-
AFC Championship game. Are you kidding me? And again, it was just, I wouldn't say there were stars on the field, but there was stars waiting to be born on the field, and that's cool. That's cool to me. So
Maybe it's time to let the old ways die.
Maybe it's time to let
I got something.
sorry.
I got something for you.
What do you get?
So when I got back to New England, right? So I left for a little while, took a cup of coffee on the Midwest. I come back. New England is my home.
Yeah.
You know, the fans and, you know, I love it there. My kids were born there and all that stuff and you guys, right? So I got back to New England. It was very emotional for me to go in that building. Now I'm coming in a different role. I'm coming in because Nick left and Bill needs me to do the GM stuff and kind of oversee and just be his eyes and ears and all that stuff. So as the GM, when I get back, you know, your situation was coming up. So talking to Don, Don's amazing. He and I had some amazing conversations. And so you were going to retire.
Yeah.
I was in the situation. I was like, all right, well, here's a legendary Patriot player that I've watched just grow up before my eyes. Someone that I admire, someone that worked hard, just did it our way, and really special. You're a special person. So when it was all settled and everything was worked out, and you were going to retire, so my office was Nick's office, which is next to the personnel room.
Yeah.
So I walked into the personnel room, and we had the personnel board in there for the Patriots has all the players on the team. They're up in magnets and the name tags. So usually when someone retires or leaves or whatever it is, like, you know, like one of the young guys in the scouting department comes in and just grabs the name and either gets thrown away or it gets maybe put in the back corner or whatever. And I just, you know, I always felt like those names to me that we had up on that board represented so much more than just a piece of paper. I just, and knowing you, I just kind of went in and I was like, I don't know, I just got to take this off the board. And I took your name and I opened that.
My guy. Make me start crying, Matty P. What do we got here?
So that was your name tag that was on the personnel board at the Patriots while you were playing. I don't know if it always got updated because it was on there for a while, but I didn't want that to just go anywhere. I thought that it should go to you. And so for whatever reason, how many ever years it is now, I back then grabbed it in the moment and I've just kept it all these years. And
My God.
thought it was.
It's got my salary on there.
Yeah. We have the salary. There's no doubt. We have the salary on there, of course. But
What is 9.5?
let me see.
29, 9.5.
Is that your hand size?
Is that my? That is my hand size. That's a big hand for
Yeah.
my size.
Yeah. But that was
Big hand.
to me, those tags on the board represented more than just a piece of paper. So,
Dude, I appreciate that. I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy.
I really do.
Yeah. Yep.
This is when you go into a general manager's office. They always had they could slide something so you couldn't see the names.
Yeah, the boards.
But I would always sneak up in there every once in a while. I'd look and see
the depth chart.
You can see what the guys were thinking through their depth charts.
Yeah.
You know, they'd plot out the team on how they wanted to build it. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I love you to death.
Love
Matty
you too.
P.
Love you too. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on. Anything else from you guys?
That was unbelievable.
Incredible.
I feel like my ball knowledge is man, that was an honor.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you so much.
That's why we do the show, for conversations like this. So thanks for coming.
100%.
This is
And everyone go out and check out Coach. Matty P wrote it. He's helped producing it. I think he's doing all the nuts and bolts of it. It's with it's Matty P's in it, Coach Belichick, Mike Lombardi. I listen to it every week just because that's how they would talk in our team meetings a lot of time. But also then you hear the buddy shit, what they would say probably in the staff meetings.
Yeah.
So I always like to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a great content. I appreciate you coming out, man. And wait, last before anything, best friends with the big guy.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right. So we got to go.
Why is he dodging me? Why is he dodging me? Why is he dodging games with names in the Nuthouse?
I think he's just, he's busy.
He's busy.
Got a lot of stuff going on. You're on the West Coast.
Had a lot of stuff going on in my life. You know what he told me to do?
No, put it in the drawer.
He said, take everything and you put it in a fucking drawer. And when the season's over, you could deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay? I put it in for 13 years. Put it in the drawer, Coach. I just want you to come talk ball.
Yeah, well, just think how full his drawer is. There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Here, how about this? I think I'm going to have to join social media.
Are you?
I think I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Let's go.
Hell yeah. Who's running Coach Belichick's Instagram?
So we done?
Yeah, we're done. Thank you for coming on, Maddie.
What a game.
The lighting has changed, audience, because we're still here 48 hours after.
Day has turned to night. And night has turned back to day.
You don't become a rocket scientist by just not knowing everything.
Great episode, amazing.
Man,
he hung around later too. It was great.
Yeah, Matty P's a good one. He's a good dude.
We're smarter ball knowers from hearing that.
It's good to have defense perspective,
It is.
you know?
If you don't know what a double mug is by now, you didn't listen to this episode.
You didn't listen to the goddamn episode. Okay? But Matty P you gotta explain it to kindergarten people. Okay, if you're gonna be in TV, you can't say double mug, fire zone 6, this, that. I mean, come on, Bubs.
Part of what makes Matty P
Just
and
say
Bill such great coaches.
post-safety blitz. And that's been another episode of Games with Names. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Comment a game you want us to do. And remember
Rate and review.
to follow Games with Names on YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Snapchat. Leave a message on the old hotline at 424-291-2290. Those are always fun. Games with Names is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.